The release of the status scouter, a device that quantified adventurers' abilities, pushed S-rank and A-rank parties to expel members with low numbers, plunging the world into the era of the expulsion rush. Amid the chaos, Viren begged desperately not to be thrown out, but her leader mocked her cruelly and declared she had officially been kicked from the party. In Daytona City, Eisen Teslar stood inside the Adventurer Guild Reigel's interview room, stunned after learning his application had been rejected without warning. The interviewer reminded him of the trends sweeping every guild, even though Eisen insisted he had graduated from the Guildmaster Training Academy and could serve as a valuable staff member. Eisen argued that reassessing evaluation criteria could help the guild stand out, insisting an adventurer's true value could never be measured by status numbers alone. The interviewer coldly explained that ignoring status had become standard practice among guilds, and he had no intention of opposing that trend, forcing Eisen to accept defeat quietly. Sitting in Regal's first-floor hall, Eisen sighed at another rejected application. Realizing this rejection marked the 10th failed attempt to secure a guild position, adventurers around him kept moving forward, braving dangerous monster subjugations and dungeon explorations to earn fame and fortune through nothing but their own capabilities. Guild masters guided and protected adventurers according to their personal ideals, and becoming one himself remained Eisen's lifelong dream despite fierce competition among guilds citywide. Recruitment notices for guild staff still appeared everywhere, proving the adventuring industry itself was thriving even while Eisen remained mysteriously unable to find employment. He admitted quietly to himself that his stubborn refusal to accept status, as everything an adventurer needed, was the real reason no guild would hire him. A year earlier, the Merchant Guild had launched a new product called the Status Scouter, an item capable of visually quantifying the abilities of its wearer. People quickly understood their own numerical worth through it, and because its readings proved fairly accurate, the device spread rapidly throughout adventuring society. Status soon became the accepted basis for evaluating every adventurer's stats, yet Eisen still held firmly onto his own personal ideals about true worth. Since childhood, Eisen could see mysterious letters invisible to others, and he learned to control them, which eventually led him toward the Guildmaster Training Academy. Despite an instructor mocking his grades and urging him to drop out, another student defended Eisen, praising his exceptional gift for bringing people together. Eisen thanked his supporter and admitted he had considered leaving to continue his family's business instead, silently vowing to keep trying his best. Later, the arrogant Salvio, leader of the A-rank party's Silver Wolf Brigade, mocked Viren as a loser while announcing he carried important news for everyone. Viren and her teammates gathered curiously as Salvio proudly revealed that the Silver Wolf Brigade had just been officially promoted to S-rank status. Viren gasped in disbelief and joy, realizing her party had finally become an S-rank party after years of struggle and constant underestimation. Salvio and his companions admitted they needed an open position, planning to recruit someone with stronger abilities to boost their achievements, leaving Eisen suspicious about their true intentions. Viren froze in shock as the Silver Wolf Brigade coldly announced her termination had already been processed, officially expelling her simply because her stats were too low. Since abilities could now be measured in numbers, high-rank parties began chasing recruits with better stats, expelling loyal members purely to make room for replacements. Another member begged desperately not to be kicked out, insisting a swordsman skilled at avoiding traps still held real value, but his pleas were ignored entirely. Salvio grabbed Viren roughly and screamed at her to shut up, calling her an eternal loser while declaring this harsh new trend was simply awful. Eisen calmly argued that although high stats made an adventurer's accomplishments look impressive, nobody bothered acknowledging the value existing beyond those simple numbers. Using his appraisal eye, Eisen quietly observed the group, searching beneath their armor and bravado for the hidden skill each person truly possessed. He explained that mysterious letters always appeared before his eyes, revealing a person's hidden attribute, which explained why he refused to change his stubborn views. Warrior's hidden skill, sturdy body, boosted his attack and defense significantly, yet Eisen noted such solid abilities were fairly common among high-ranking adventurers. Viren begged for one more chance while Salvio smirked cruelly, unaware that Eisen had already noticed something remarkable hidden within her overlooked potential. Curious about her stats, Eisen asked Viren to show him her numbers, revealing modest attack and defense, but genuinely impressive speed reaching 843. Her former teammates mocked her mercilessly, calling her useless and cowardly, insisting she was only good for checking traps, despite her painfully low digits. Tears streamed down Viren's face as she wondered aloud whether S-rank parties should truly behave this way, judging worth by stats instead of character. Watching this cruelty unfold, Eisen questioned silently whether this was truly how adventurers and guilds were meant to treat one another under this system. Having already failed 10 guild interviews, Eisen finally resolved himself, declaring firmly that a person's value could never be judged through stats alone. He announced boldly that he would build his own guild with his own two hands, asking Salvio if he would mind him recruiting Varin. Instead, Salvio demanded to know who Aizen even was, and Aizen explained he had just formed a new guild and was actively scouting talented adventurers. Salvio laughed mockingly, warning that Varin held the lowest stats in the entire party, but Aizen ignored him and reached toward her hand. Aizen promised to reveal Varin's true value beyond mere numbers, inviting her to work alongside him, and she quietly accepted with hopeful eyes. Salvio sneered afterward, mocking the reckless guild that dared recruit someone without even checking her status scouter readings first. Aizen mocked Salvio coldly, telling him to aim for S rank if he could, before revealing Varin had once handled trap avoidance duties within his own party. Salvio's teammates urged him to calm down while he raged internally, questioning who exactly this arrogant stranger thought he was to speak so boldly. Walking through town, Aizen explained that his hidden skill let him see any person's true attribute, something the status scouter's numbers could never reveal. He told Varin her ability was called Super Sixth Sense, a skill allowing her to anticipate the location of hidden traps and lurking monsters. Most people use their hidden skills unconsciously without realizing it, and Aizen asked whether she had ever avoided a direction simply because something felt wrong. He also asked if she ever sensed a monster's weak points instinctively, explaining her survival as Vanguard came entirely from that overlooked sixth sense guiding her. Varin admitted her former leader always told her she had no right to speak, surprised that Aizen already understood this hidden part of her ability. Aizen introduced himself properly as Varin Aprilla's new employer, encouraging her to finally use her power freely and speak up without holding back anymore. Varin accepted nervously, promising to remain in his care from now on, while Aizen looked forward to working together as genuine guild companions. She asked curiously what kind of guild he was building, and Aizen hesitated slightly before beginning to explain his vision for their future together. He declared he was ready to risk his life creating a guild where valuable skills mattered more than status, forming an entirely different world for outcasts. Holding her hand beneath the open sky, Aizen vowed to end the expulsion rush, marking the very first step of his still unnamed guild. Aizen admitted the truth that he still hadn't established his guild, leaving Varin stunned as she realized she would be his very first employee. Varin panicked, wondering aloud if she had just been scammed until Aizen quickly explained he needed to travel to Viam City to file the application. He silently resolved to build up this mistreated girl's confidence, admitting he had gone out of his way just to recruit her into his guild. Before anything else, Varin worried about her shabby appearance, while Aizen decided the first priority should be getting her proper new equipment immediately. At the Rogodio Company equipment shop, Varin nervously asked how she looked, and Aizen complimented her sincerely, leaving her flustered and speechless with embarrassment. The shopkeeper explained the new armor combined cotton fabric with sturdy materials, making it lighter and more durable while the rapier could pierce chainmail easily. The design seemed dainty for adventuring, but the shopkeeper insisted many adventurers nowadays valued style just as much as practical combat functionality. Aizen agreed it was hard to blame adventurers for wanting to look nice considering how often they risked their lives during dangerous expeditions. Varin worried she couldn't afford such expensive equipment, but Aizen simply asked whether she liked it, ignoring her financial concerns entirely. He insisted on paying for everything himself, calling it a celebration of her new guild membership, leaving Varin overwhelmed with gratitude and disbelief. Aizen reasoned this was simply an initial investment since she would work for him regularly, though secretly he admitted seeing her look cute made it worthwhile. Once finished, Varin thanked him quietly, and Aizen suggested moving on toward their next important destination for guild business. They arrived at Adventurer Guild Avalon, ready to receive their new guild's very first official assignment from an acquaintance inside. Stepping through busy streets lined with adventurers, Aizen mentioned he had a trusted acquaintance within this particular guild who could help them. A hawk suddenly swooped toward them inside the building, startling Varin until the receptionist apologized and called the bird back immediately by name. The receptionist, Kagarina, greeted Aizen warmly after a long absence, showing off her guild's newly designed uniform while her hawk harrier perched nearby. Aizen complimented how well the red suited her uniform, noting her old academy uniform carried similar red accents, making Kagarina blush and deny caring. Harrier suddenly mocked her with sharp screeches, prompting Kagarina to scold the bird angrily while Varin watched them bicker like old familiar friends. Arrived with her falcon companion Harrier as Aizen introduced her to the team. Amazed, Kagarina challenged Aizen's choice to form a guild. In response, Kagarina clarified her unique talent to communicate with a wide range of beasts. This gift, Aizen clarified, stemmed from her hidden talent Zuglot, which she used in her place managing guild operations. Reflecting on their former, Aizen recalled Kagurina as the first to believe in his appraisal abilities and the concept of hidden talents during their school years. Viren froze at the mention of Aizen and Kagurina's former, claiming she wasn't envious despite her reddened face. Aizen silently noted that it was natural for her to goal about abilities like speaking with beasts. Kagurina mentioned Viren's concealed talent, prompting Aizen to introduce her as his guild's initial member. Though their while together was brief, Viren defended Aizen while Kagurina warned her to remain cautious. In return, Viren grinned, stating Aizen's sincerity made him somebody truly dependable. Hesitantly, Kagurina confessed Aizen was trustworthy, though she still hesitated about assisting. He clarified they required tasks to fund their guild from the ground up. However, she firmly declined to offer any benchmark commissions to a minor, unproven group like theirs. Pushed further, she disclosed a few private jobs typically hidden from regular adventurers. Aizen clarified those jobs were poor priority missions others often ignored. Viren realized such neglected requests left customers helpless, particularly when missions were too perilous or unprofitable. Internally handled commissions were described as jobs no one wished mistakenly embraced but too damaging to reject. While Avalon attempted shifting those to other squads, even Harrier appeared to agree that unloading them was the goal faced. With the fact, resistance crumbled as a handful of neglected jobs spilled out. A keen warning followed. Recklessness could be fatal, and these jobs weren't to be taken lightly. Aizen responded with a calm grin, offering caution and expressing silent gratitude for the concern. Checked the commission papers and picked one to accept, instructing cautious handling of the process. Both Viren and Kagurina gazed on, amazed at the task that had been selected. The team entered a perilous dungeon, and Viren trembled at the sight, worrying the worst. Stood firm beside her as the enormous dungeon gateway loomed, emphasizing the extreme question they were about to face. Aizen charged forward with full make, driving his weapon into the core of the towering golem. The blow hit exactly, sending cracks spreading across the monster's surface as it started to fail balance. Shattered rock flew across the room as the beast collapsed. Without warning, she held to him closely, her voice trembling as she rebuked his reckless move. Smiling gently, Aizen shrugged off the concern, insisting everything turned out well even if it meant taking a risk. Ease washed over Viren as she gripped Aizen's palm, her voice trembling with gratitude for his safety. He softly rested his hand on her hair, affirming her growth and courage without hesitation. Hearing her name spoken so genuinely, Viren burst into quiet sobs, overwhelmed by the impact of his words. Abruptly, she broke into noisy tears, catching Aizen completely off guard. Through her cries, she admitted no one had possibly shown her such kindness before. Determined to improve, Viren vowed to stand with honor, doing her best for Aizen's sake and for herself. She embraced the junior girl kindly, her grin reflecting the strength she had finally found. Abruptly, a wounded fighter appeared, Salvio collapsing before them and calling Viren's name in shock. When challenged, Salvio could only utter one dark fact: he was the last one alive. Just moments earlier, anger had filled him as everything spiraled out of control. In Salvio's memory, Aizen's direct words had hurt badly, interpreted as mockery rather than guidance. Confident in their replacement scout, the team rejected Viren as frail and moved on without her. The new enlist led them down a route he judged safer, unaware of the consequences ahead. Without hesitation, Salvio followed, but his caution came too slow as peril abruptly emerged. A volley of shafts struck him as overconfidence shattered in an immediate. The team scrambled to treat Salvio's injury, fear rising as blood flowed uncontrollably. Yelling erupted, accusations hurled at the tracker who had confidently led them into the snare. Salvio, enraged, seized him by the shirt, demanding replies he no longer believed existed. Thoughts hit him hard how he once recklessly viewed Viren as disposable and easily replaced. Only now did he realize her silent competence had guarded him from hazards all along. The smell of blood drew a swarm of red kobolds, driving the panicked squad into chaos. Confusion growth swiftly, no one knew how to form a counterstrike, and doubt shattered morale. Paralyzed by dread, Salvio realized the impact of his former decision, questioning whether he had been wrong. Desperate, he pleaded Viren to return, offering her rank and redemption inside the brigade, but she talked steadily, recognizing her own strength, something he never saw until too slow. Viren met Salvio's plea with calm rejection, stating she wanted neither glory nor prize. She announced her devotion to Aizen, the only one who viewed her as more than just strength. Soon after, reinforcements reached to help and remove Salvio, wounded and defeated. Though Aizen pitied him, He knew the fellow had brought his outcome on himself. Leaving the past behind, the team pushed further into the dungeon's unknown darkness. Viren watched the silent surroundings, noting the absence of creatures, but cautioning they shouldn't linger. Their route led to a large chamber filled in light, where an ancient tree stood alone. At Aizen's suggestion, she triggered her hidden talent, an intuitive might known as Sixth Sense. The talent reacted to more than enemies, it could find hidden objects too. Following its direction, Viren pressed through the overgrowth and uncovered a concealed object. Aizen was amazed at how smoothly Viren's talent had worked, clearly impressed by the results. She clarified that the item they recovered, a locket, had been requested by a mourning former adventurer. Inscribed on it were the titles of fallen comrades, linked eternally through struggle and memory. Gripping it together, they reflected on the far meaning of shared adventures and loyal friendships. With renewed resolve, Aizen called their fresh guild the Outcast Guild, a refuge for the overlooked. Viren reflected on Aizen's goal, silently choosing to backing him no matter how uncertain the path ahead might be. With a bright grin, she promised herself as the first member of the Outcasts Guild. Aizen lifted his cup in celebration with his companions, enjoying a moment of quiet success after a long mission. In the Avalon Eating region, others recognized their efforts. Aizen, with a steady grin, valued the recognition. Later, he showed an enchanted item to a schoolmate, showing the mission's success. Her concern was clear, taken away guard by Aizen's teasing. Kagarina flushed, realizing she had genuinely cared. With a smile, Aizen handed over her portion. Despite the jokes, their connection was powerful. Viren was stunned by the generous prize, thinking it was too much for her efforts in the dungeon. Instead, then back down. Aizen announced he would make her to accept even more if she refused. Though reluctant, she was recalled that explorers should be compensated fairly for their contributions. Trying to redirect the funds, she proposed using it to backing Aizen's fresh guild. With firm resolve, she warned that forcing a girl pay would disgrace him before the entire city. With a warm grin, she listened as credit was softly offered for her clever thinking. Confidence bloomed, revealing a skill she had held hidden, which she then used with remarkable precision. Quests were finished rapidly, even those considered troublesome. Some finished in mere hours without pause. Usefulness exceeded expectations, putting her on par with adventurers known to be S-class elites. Doubt rose in, as it appeared she might have conquered the dungeon without any aid at all. After rescuing enough for their guild's foundation, the duo celebrated and set their focus on official registration. Their journey led them to Byam, a bustling explorer city where the guild headquarters was based. Within the meeting space, preparations began for their guild's application. Though tension remained, aged faces resurfaced, some familiar, others plainly unwelcome, creating a heavy atmosphere between representatives. Order was swiftly returned as a firm voice cut through, bringing focus back to official matters. Asalam person made the lead, ready to determine the direction of the guild's coming. Jalaik Farnese, the union representative, officially initiated the long-expected meeting. Guidelines were checked, clarifying how explorers must belong to registered guilds. Under the broader alliance, authority rested with the four great stars, a strong team gripping decisive control. With a serious tone, Jalaik unveiled two urgent issues. Asserting his place as the supreme guildmaster, a new menace appeared, Aqua Hydra, a powerful beast lurking deep inside Harana's cave labyrinth. Its abrupt appearance overwhelmed poor-level parties, causing heavy losses and widespread panic across dungeon areas. An emergency subjugation request was issued, with a reward of 1,000 gold pieces. Raito Kagura cautioned that sending inexperienced explorers would only charge to further casualties and chaos. Unmoved by caution, Volk Leopold demanded the frail deserve their fate in this survival-driven realm. Melas Ilushka viewed the crisis as an opportunity, wishing to make it into tactical gain for her guild. Jalaik decided to use Volk's plan but added firm conditions to secure quality and legitimacy. Attention shifted to a growing issue: mass dismissals caused by the growth of a tool called the Status Scouter. Though some admired its usefulness, others warned that dismissing frailer allies created deep divides. With tension rising, Jalaik condemned the reckless behavior, noting moral decline and escalating conflict among adventurers. Concerns rose as experienced explorers started hurting teams by relying solely on stat-based recruitment. Farnese warned that pursuing profit without principle would eventually lead to failure. Volk enraged, ridiculed the notion of unity, denying the value of compassion and guidance. Tensions peaked as he publicly opposed authority, demanding full control over the guild order. With a manic smile, he promised to purge the frail and forge an unstoppable guild. Jalaik's commanding tone cut through the strain, warning the junior guild leader not to overstep. Volk rejected the warning, resolved to follow his vision without interference as long as ambition endured. Observing the childish show, Melis masked her reaction behind a sly smile and a silent scoff. Though playful in tone, she recalled Jalaic of the risks, including those affecting her own Protfe phase, before leaving. She joked to prefer in return, vanishing with a flourish and a final parting grin. The council room fell silent as reflections on the Lion King and Immortal Witch hinted at their unchanged form. Concerns emerged over provoking Volk, with warnings about feasible private strife looming in the background. Instead than address it directly, Jalaic chuckled heartily, declaring the following generation should handle such messes. Interrupting the mood, Raito brought ahead unexpected report with a assured stance. An ancient artifact returned, triggering thoughts in disbelief, something considered lost for over 40 years. Instead than rely on his status, Jalaic had placed his hopes in others. He reminisced about Daedalus, a legendary squad long separated but forever linked by unbroken bonds. Report reached that the artifact's finder was a young man building a fresh guild, one close to Raito's daughter. Meanwhile, Aizen sat solo, overwhelmed by doubt, unsure how to cheeks Varin after the setback. Rejection struck hard, leaving him in disbelief, filled by the impact of failing the guild application. Just 20 minutes previously, Aizen had been rejected outright, the clerk scoffing at his application. The denial came with strict criticism, targeting both his inexperience and his choice of squad members. Labeled as foolish, he was informed guilds like his would only charge to inevitable failure. Desperate, he pressed back, claiming his squad had real accomplishments and deserved recognition. Given one outrageous condition, he was informed to capture a wished criminal if he wished a chance. Aizen gazed at the reward poster in disbelief, realizing the task forward was beyond ordinary expectations. Moments afterward, he was forcibly ejected, his appeals ignored and dangers of security escalating. Dread settled in Varin's joy might make to outrage if she mastered the truth and acted recklessly. Lost in thought, he stumbled and fell, only to be met with a soft palm and understanding remarks. To his surprise, Jalaic extended backing not as a representative but as somebody silently thankful. Within the guild house, Aizen collided with a silver-haired outsider and immediately checked if he was all right. Amazed by the politeness, remarked how rare such manners were between explorers and assumed Aizen had business there. Clarifying his vision, Aizen disclosed his intent to start a guild for outcasts. Curious, the fellow asked for his name, and Aizen identified himself with a nervous smile. Spotting the name, the fellow grinned thoughtfully, noting that perhaps this meeting was destined. Aizen received a question: capture the infamous Grand Zeft if he wished to be caught. Unfamiliar with the region, he inquired for details. He mastered that Grand Zeft, once a team of petty thugs, had grown powerful under a chief named Hugo. Despite their crimes, the authorities struggled to halt them, treating them like elusive mist. The senior man admitted that a close friend was brutally assaulted by the group. Realizing the rising menace, Aizen swore to act before more lives were shattered. Aizen announced he would go after Grand Zeft and try to reveal their trail. His enthusiasm raised the senior man's mood, who subtly hinted at high-level corruption inside the guild system. Reflecting privately, the man respected the guild representative, a mysterious person revered as the peak of explorer leadership. Before departing, he expressed his faith in Aizen's results and enjoyed their brief talk. Later, Aizen grinned, presenting his fledgling rejected guild an unofficial group of just 2 members. The senior man provided words of assurance, trusting his instincts that Aizen would succeed if he gave it his all. With a calm farewell, he pivoted aside, leaving behind a promise to meet anew. As the man moved away, he addressed Aizen as a young guild leader, leaving him smiling in silence. Aizen reflected on the man's composed aura and suspected he might be somebody crucial. Abruptly unsure, he concerned if he had stem across as rude during their conversation. He realized he never mastered the man's name, but hoped they'd cross paths anew someday. Abruptly, Viren cheerfully announced that their guild application had been embraced. Although reluctant, Aizen knew he had to talk honestly about something he'd held in. They visited the bustling city market, where Varin marveled at the endless variety of goods. Their trip was meant for research, though Aizen had to steady Varin's fiery outburst. Excited by the shops nearby them, Varin bounced from one stall to another, overwhelmed with curiosity. Aizen observed her energetic movements, prompting her to glance back with a faint blush. She accused him of considering she was childish, embarrassed, and flustered by her own actions. Trying to sound mature, Varin admitted her desire to backing Aizen and make him grin too. Despite her nervousness, she demanded. He recognized her as a suitable guild companion. Aizen admired Varin as a trusted companion, leaving her embarrassed and speechless. She silently repeated the word companion, uncertain how to interpret it, but embraced it for now together. They explored shops and displays, sharing the town's lively mood. Viren keenly presented a colorful bandage, proud of her find, while Aizen remarked on the appetizing scents. When she provided a bite, embarrassment made over, prompting Aizen to swiftly apologize for upsetting her. She blurted out her wish to eat itself, cheeks red and opinion noisy. Without hesitation, she made a big bite and gently murmured how tasty it was. Juicy meat, crisp vegetables, and rich sauce caused an unexpectedly addictive flavor. Incapable to resist, Aizen embraced a portion and made a bite with a thoughtful nod. Compliments made her flustered anew, but a silent grin showed her happiness. Gaze sparkling, Viren savored the taste, cheeks complete and entirely satisfied. Chuckles escaped when her joyful expression drew joking, catching her away guard. Plans started forming after finishing up. It was while to gather information about Grand Zeph's rapid suggestion to visit the Adventurers Guild was met with enthusiastic agreement. A slow step towards the town guilds followed, hoping new clues would surface soon. Within the guild house, commotion erupted as a fox-eared youngster protested her treatment in front of a crowd. She defended her right to be there, but the squad chief rejected her, calling her a weakling. Despite her plea, she was formally dismissed from the prestigious S-Class squad. Aegis, as stunned faces watched. Shock filled the house as Micah was abruptly expelled from the prestigious S-Class squad. Aegis, once hailed for defeating a dragon, had begun discarding its own companions. Backed by Volk Leopold, the guild's authority, Clay ensured no one could question the verdict without risking exile from all coming squads. Micah lashed out, declining to take the sentence. Her defiance met only quiet and icy stares. Replacing her, the necromancer Hilda moved in with haunting grace. Despite accusations, responsibility for shielding the squad from magic had often lost on somebody else entirely. Sobs welled up as former wounds reopened, thoughts of a similar betrayal resurfacing without warning. Scenes like this echoed throughout explorer guilds where abrupt banishments had become disturbingly typical. Firmly decided, a new goal created to form a place where real abilities could shine beyond stats. Battle intensified, a yell broke through the noise demanding quiet and focus over sympathy or comfort. A noisy voice burst the strain, urging persistence over retreat. Determination masked hesitation with a brave introduction. Instead of shame, an invitation followed to welcome Micah as one of the outcasts. Confusion spread instantly. No one had even caught of such a guild. Let's Solo admired it. Facts slipped out, it was informal, unapproved, and hardly real. Still, the intent stood strong. A silent inquiry shifted focus, casting light on when bonds between members had really created. Questions emerged about the party's rise, suggesting path contributions had been silently ignored. Renown was claimed not as teamwork, but as proof of individual merit and superior talent. Decision followed her mana judged too low, her presence labeled a burden to coming progress. Assurance oozed from those in might, boasting unmatched strength and immunity to assaults. Credit shifted swiftly to their latest ally, a seductive necromancer welcomed without hesitation. Appraisal eye triggered, showing hidden truths behind every claim made in the space. Recognition settled in this wasn't a normal defense technique, but an uncommon concealed gift. Iron Wall shield glowed brightly, reducing incoming harm by half and nullifying frail strikes fully. Ideal for frontline defense. This talent provided unmatched protection for teammates during fierce battle. Even minor hits became meaningless, reinforcing his central place in every significant combat. 3 center strike types shaped battle: physical strikes, magic assaults, and crippling status ailments. A strong blessing triggered nullifying assaults while sacrificing mana. Concealed power started to surface. Shock lit his cheeks. The talent wasn't just uncommon, it exceeded anything expected. Her backing, once rejected, actually reinforced their front line and compensated for others' flaws. Misunderstood motives caused strain. Despite everything, her sincerity only attracted more criticism. Questions about her own promise stirred uncertainty. Assurance hadn't taken up with real. Meanwhile, the others continued on casually, hardly recognizing what they'd left behind. Dismissively provided to a frailer guild, her value was shrugged off without care. A retort followed, keen and unforgiving insults hid behind fake generosity no longer. Anger flared as betrayal was shouted out. Devotion had meant nothing to those who climbed over it. Abrupt broke of might erupted, sending shockwaves through the guild hall. Protectiveness flared as she announced her devotion. Refusing to let harm stem to her own tempers exploded. Anger met conviction as accusations flew and aged bonds cracked under pressure. Attempts to diffuse the chaos failed. Emotions spiraled, fueled by honor and wounded egos. Steady returned only through an haunting presence, one distant more composed than anyone expected. Strain remained as dangers were issued one last time. Honor wounded, a warning was all that remained. Quiet filled the guild after the outburst. All gaze observed the strange team left behind. Concern replaced chaos. Supporters voiced concern not for themselves, but for the one who stood up. Regret pivoted into sincerity. Admiration grew as unlikely bonds started to form between misfits. Chuckles nearly burst out when credit became exaggerated. Still behind the humor, heartfelt respect shone through. Excitement swelled as the rejected guild was defined a spot where rejected adventurers could finally shine. Keen devotion followed, though her overwhelming passion left the other entirely stiff from pressure. An instant of awareness hit. Somebody had said too soon, and the fact was about to unravel. Fear growth when she mastered the guild wasn't official. Her outrage sparked immediate regret from the recruiter. Chaos erupted. Accusations scattered, flailing limbs followed, and all hopes of composure vanished in an immediate. Abrupt report hinted at tension brewing in the city's roads. While checking guild business, a commander noted the outcast guild's rejection still saw potential in capturing the Grand Zeph thieves. Noticing an opportunity, Eisen emphasized the need for partners known with the local terrain. Though reluctant, the officer acknowledged Eisen's earlier aid and agreed to offer limited backing. Curiosity sparked. Eisen challenged Micah about her dismissal from Aegis and the fact behind it. Micah confessed her mana was below S-rank standards, though clearly frustrated by the reminder. Later, beyond the guild, the team ready to move following Eisen's lead. She stopped, confused by how Eisen already knew about her distinct talent. He paused, lifting his palm thoughtfully as he began to clarify himself. Revealing the fact, Eisen disclosed his hidden talent appraisal eye, capable of seeing hidden talents in others. The mention of hidden talents left Micah clearly shaken. Gaze wide in surprise, Eisen bowed his hair, apologizing for using his talent without consent, still acknowledged the burden she carried. From the side, an ally joked lightheartedly, suggesting every girl harbored at least one hidden. Micah smirked slightly, accepting that Eisen wasn't manipulating her with secrets, though suspicion remained. With resolve shared, Eisen announced his goal, and Micah keenly agreed to join his path forward. Micah unveiled the concept of turning an information broker with a confident smile. In the alleys, details unfolded about how influential guilds thrive through networks and informants. A contact called Kagarina provided limited aid, reinforcing how valuable information truly was. The squad listened intently as they mastered of the Grand Zeph's amateur status and Hugo's guidance. Reputation aside, Hugo's real menace lay in his distinct talent to vanish. Without a trace, Eisen deduced that Hugo's talent probably involved a hidden talent granting full invisibility. Though strong, Hugo misused his gifts, prompting Micah to call for immediate action. Plans were made to split up, each companion accepting a place in gathering intelligence. With strong resolve, Micah demanded they conduct a thorough investigation without pause. Despite their efforts, disappointment followed as no leads emerged, departing one member clearly discouraged. Viren tried to use her sixth sense, but her search yielded nothing. During their step, a minor wolf pup approached. Taken in a tight collar, she freed the beast, which reacted by affectionately licking her in thanks. Eisen detected something was away when they stumbled upon a suspiciously placed snare. Without warning, a team of thugs arrived, revealing orders to eliminate everybody, but the Beastman girl confronted the attackers, doubting if Micah was the target, but they remained evasive. Without hesitation, the thugs rushed ahead, convinced they would depart no survivors. Their chief sneered, vowing to deal with Viren directly after eliminating the rest. Before he could act, Viren steadily moved ahead, stating she wouldn't need to draw her weapon. In an abrupt broke of speed and strength, she landed a strong blow, launching the man across the ground in a single strike, announced that spending a child as bait and lifting blades at Eisen warranted no mercy. Without hesitation, she subdued multiple attackers, departing one shaking before her, blade at his neck. Meanwhile, Eisen calmly assessed the position, recognizing that Viren's reel might once rank a class. When a thug rushed him, Eisen countered with speed and accuracy. Remembering past street fights, though he disliked violence, his bruised knuckles displayed otherwise he'd battle if needed, even if it hurt. As strain eased, one thug surrendered swiftly, offering to portion everything if spared. Despite his appeal, hesitation clouded his reply about Hugo's whereabouts, leading to a swift, punishing blow. Pain forced a confession, Hugo held his hideout hidden, shared only with trusted partners. In a shaky tone, the fellow disclosed Micah's origins. She belonged to the Shirokane clan of the distant east. Shock rippled through the team on learning her real identity, a royal Miko. Once protected by Aegis, annoyed by the enemy's greed, Eisen strongly shut him down, ending the negotiation. Awareness hit the team had left Micah solo, prompting urgency to regroup. Meanwhile, Micah was abruptly ambushed by a masked thief taken off guard. The attacker ridiculed her isolation, launching a strong blow intended to overwhelm her defenses. A staff is thrown frantically across the street, naming attention to a dire position. Aizen picks it up, immediately spotting it as Micah's, confirming something has gone mistaken. Ali shows that Micah was kidnapped during a coordinated strike led by Hugo's forces. They realize Hugo used invisibility to escape, forcing pursuit nearly unworkable. Just then, Kagarina appears by chance, possibly drawing faith in a critical instant. Aizen urgently pleads with Kagarina, wondering for her strength in a frantic instant. His unexpected remarks depart her shocked, her face flushed with shock and confusion. Meanwhile, a girl awakens, alarmed to find herself restrained in chains inside an unseen room. The captor greets her coldly, showing she's now in the palms of the Grand Zeft. Their chief, Hugo, smugly declares his identity as the city's most wished, the invisible Hugo, despite lacking her staff. The youngster assesses her odds and prepares to battle spending magic. Her try is swiftly shut down. The cuffs restraining her are imbued with anti-magic seals. The captors mock her resistance, previously aware of her identity and ties to the Aegis squad. With a twisted grin, Hugo shows her she was exiled from Aegis. He scoffs at her partners, dismissing them as frail and incapable of save furious. The youngster demands to understand what happened to her companions, yanking against her chains. Her captor identifies her royal heritage, threatening her despite spotting her status as a Shirokane. Thou shackled, she refuses to cower, yelling back defiantly as they mock her conviction. A knife is pushed to her throat, the menace rising as she's told screaming is pointless. Abruptly, a pack of intense dogs bursts into the space, launching a chaotic counterattack. As suspicion rises, the youngster denies orchestrating the dog strike, claiming it is beyond her talent. She's relieved to spot her partners safe and learns the beasts were helping of their own will. Kagarina coordinates reinforcements while dogs and harriers secure the building's exit. Aizen confronts Hugo directly, declaring the end of his reign over Grand Zeft. Observing his men fall, Hugo realizes their downfall is previously underway. Hugo sneers, wondering if they really trusted he was trapped. His assurance grows as he prepares to escape. He threatens to kill them before fleeing, depending on his invisibility. But Aizen steadily declares he's previously seen through the trick. Gripping Varin, Aizen states she's solo is enough to halt him. Invisible and jumping from overhead, Hugo aims to blow. Still, Varin's keen senses pinpoint his position. With one strong thrust, she intercepts him mid-air. Varin explains her triumph, showing that her super sixth sense allows her to detect weaknesses even without noticing the enemy. Despite Hugo's camouflage talent enabling him to bend light and disappear, with the combat won, the team locates the path to the restraints in the enemy's pocket, freeing the captured girl. Aizen is amazed by Micah's efforts, mentioning her place in tracking Grand Zeft. The youngster looks shocked, gaze wide and shimmering, overwhelmed by the unexpected kindness and inclusion. Micah wonders if Aizen's guild could really be the spot where she belongs. A representative bows badly, apologizing and offering to cover her admission fee after the Grand Zeft incident. In fear, another official begs for forgiveness, worrying the consequences of his defeat. The Outcast Guild is officially recognized, and the team celebrates their long-expected breakthrough. With thanks and closure, Aizen thanks Kagarina, and the team eventually embraces peace. As Chuckles breaks out, the team celebrates their well-being. Kagarina teases Aizen about the dinner he promised. Awareness strikes her. If it's just the two of them, does that mean it's a date? Her cheeks burns red. Meanwhile, Micah apologizes for any trouble, claiming her aid was voluntary and not Aizen's burden to carry. She turns aside, showing that the one who really forced involvement was herself. Her expression tightens with emotion. Aizen, worried, silently calls out to her. Micah steps forward, asking for a personal instant, her gaze steady as she prepares to share her past. Amazed by her appeal, realizing this was something she had long gripped back, she lived in the shadow of her junior sister, burdened by comparisons and whispers inside the shrine. Each glance chipped aside at her assurance. Uncertainty settled in. Was she really useless? Unable to endure the suffocating expectations, she fled the Shirokane clan, wanting freedom in the Beyond Realm. Even now, her heart remained shackled by thoughts she couldn't escape. Sitting alongside Aizen, she admitted the fact she had long hidden. Aizen confronted her softly, piecing together clues from the enemy's remarks. Realizing her royal lineage and hidden talents, he challenged her hesitation to faith others, linking her silence to past betrayals. She confessed the danger. Exposing her origins might offer protection, but it could also endanger those nearby her. Despite her fears, she recalled the connection they shared. Friendship meant facing burdens together, grinning gently. She recognized Aizen's warmth and unusual kindness that never failed to surprise her. Aizen's remarks comforted her. He was willing to carry her secrets, no matter the burden. With a far breath, she eventually disclosed her real name, Mika Shirokane, heiress of a distant royal bloodline. Her sacred forces, long regarded as a concealed talent, were part of the Shrine Maiden's ancient blessing. He swiftly realized her gifts came from a legacy cautiously guarded since childhood. Haunted by harsh traditions, she remembered how her family exploited the blessing and imprisoned even her own sister. Overshadowed by her gifted sister, Mika always sensed like she didn't join nowhere appeared to accept her. Instead than remain in that cage, she pursued a goal of freedom through the life of an adventurer. As she studied magic and hidden, the peril of being reclaimed by her family never left her mind. Ironically, her quiet earned her exile from her own squad despite hiding for well-being. Convinced it was improved this way, she asked Aizen to overlook about letting her join the guild. Aizen silently shouted her name, sensing the impact behind her silence. Instead of pivoting her aside, he expressed genuine gratitude and faith for her to stand beside them. With a warm smile, he recalled her, that what mattered was not just might, but heart, faith, and belonging. Learning those remarks, Mika paused, her expression softening at the considerate acceptance. Though she hid her feelings, her worry for others had always said louder than her doubts. Aizen recalled a promise from the former he had vowed, never to halt reaching out to those in pain. As he ready to depart, he told Mika where to find help if she ever altered her mind. With an optimistic grin, he bid her farewell, assuring her they'd meet anew. His message was plain: her next move was hers alone to select. The following day, a fresh chapter started with the founding of the Outcast Guild. Chuckles and cheers filled the air as mugs clashed in festivity of the newly founded guild. While others enjoyed the instant, Kagurina voiced her uncertainty over her father's abrupt involvement. A toast was lifted in her honor, showing that her schoolmates had arranged everything to mark the occasion. Aizen hesitated but was recalled that more folks trusted in him than he realized. With rising confidence, those nearby him placed their hopes in his leadership for the outcasts coming. Sobs welled up in her gaze as she toasted the goal, a guild where outcasts could shine without shame. Playful banter followed, joking Aizen for somehow surrounding himself with gentle-hearted partners despite his loner past. Keeping his promise, he viewed them to a lavish feast, bringing chuckles and delight from everyone at the table. Under the moonlight, Kagurina reflected on how slight Aizen had altered since their youth. Grinning fondly, she called him an idiot one who somehow became a real guild leader. Over drinks, they chuckled about aged times, how Aizen's bluntness earned him trouble with teachers and rivals alike. Kagurina leaned closer, causing a memory by asking if he recalled their initial meeting. Back then, her grin was vivid as she talked with schoolmates under the sunlit trees. Despite her bright front, she had always sensed distant, incapable to hear what others claimed to sense. Though doubts remained in her heart, she convinced herself to trust what everybody else did just to fit in. Pondering why she ignored the birds she claimed to understand, his remarks had hit her. Now, with a grin, she confessed that perhaps she had been rescued by him too, reminding her that she had been the only one to trust in him back then. Their bond, built on faith, was acknowledged as he genuinely thanked her for being a real friend. Flustered, she scoffed at the compliment. Still, her expression betrayed how badly his words touched her. Kagurina flushed furiously, claiming Aizen hadn't influenced her at all, despite her flustered expression stating otherwise. Chuckled gently and claimed Kagurina didn't grasp her feelings. Chaos erupted when everybody realized the juice was actually wine, thanks to a sneaky switch, courtesy of the tavern. With the guild now launched, attention pivoted to the coming. Running its name was the following question. Aizen nodded steadily, knowing there was no easy route, just a commitment to reach each rejected personally. With an assured smile, Raido suggested their first real mission, hunting down an Aqua Hydra as the new outcast guild. Everybody recoiled in surprise. The Hydra was a menace. Even veteran S-rank teams feared. The guild alliance had issued a top prize emergency appeal. Chaos from frail squads failing only escalated the position. Raido assured them the job was requested based on Aizen's former achievements. Kagurina, frightened, was this question and chance or a death sentence for Aizen? Viren was entirely out of commission, drunk and incoherent, incapable to aid, confessed he couldn't battle solo, not against something like the Aqua Hydra. Just then, an opinion interrupted him. Suggesting a solution, what if there were two of him? Mika moved ahead, radiating assurance. She provided to show the strength she once wielded in an S-rank squad. With resolve in her gaze, she chose to entrust her coming to Aizen's decision. She announced the Outcast Guild her real haven. Aizen looked nearby, confused by someone's absence. A friendly grin accompanied her offer to tasks together on the upcoming subjugation. Viren stood dazed, still recovering. Surprise struck her being shouted sister was something she never expected. Confusion followed joy. Far inside a cavern of jagged rock, something stirred. Squad Aegis advanced rapidly, determined to fulfill Volk's top-stakes request. Inside a dim space, the youthful shrine maiden contemplates the strict contrast between herself and her sister. Though bound by bleeding, admiration favors only one. During rituals, standing alongside her sister only deepens her sense of inferiority. The murmurs of attendants pierce her honor, laced with pity and disdain. A silent confrontation delivers the settled blow. A peer questions her very usefulness, leaving her shaken and speechless. She slips aside under the figures, abandoning her clan and the suffocating hopes they imposed. Even in freedom, her heart clings to the impact of her lineage. Resolved, she walks forward, staff in palm, carrying quiet defiance. Within the guild courtyard, she silently confesses a hidden to the cloaked man beside her. The night sky offers no comfort for her uneasy thoughts. Regret sharpens her opinion as she admits blame. His steady reply suggests he previously knows about her background. He explains how her choice to hide her talents led to mistrust. Her quiet nod confirms the fact of his remarks. Concerned she may endanger others anew, she contemplates withdrawing more. He challenges her reasoning with strong questions and genuine worry. His settled remarks reach her directly. Learning the word friend leaves her shocked, yet badly moved. She listens to his remarks and begins to grasp his aims. A wish to portion burdens replaces her previously hesitation. A soft laugh escapes her as she teases him. His kindness, though strange, feels strangely comforting. He reassures her that secrets are not a weakness. As guild leader, he's ready to carry what others cannot. Her opinion softens as she shows her complete name, Mika Shirokane. A fact long concealed eventually surfaces. The legacy of her clan unfolds. For generations, priestesses blessed warriors, and that very present her concealed talent was never meant to be exposed. He listens cautiously as she explains her family's firm tradition of concealing unique abilities. Such teaching shaped her from a youthful age. The Shirokane clan monopolized their might, imprisoning shrine maidens to continue their blessings from outsiders. For her, those years were suffocating. Unlike her, the junior sister wielded mightier blessings and earned admiration. Constant comparison made her question her value. One painful instant lingers, her sister's direct remark suggesting she was useless. That remembrance never faded. Wanting freedom, she left her clan behind. Turning an explorer meant living on her own terms, anywhere she decided. He warns her that if her origins or forces become widely seen, peril may return either from foes or her own clan reclaiming her. She reassures him that their distant location is secure. No one from Shirokane would reach them here, but hiding her present cost her a squad once. Thankful for his understanding, she insists he not enlist her. Guarding the banished guild means keeping her distance. Her name leaves his lips with silent conviction. His look reflects a choice not readily shaken. Instead than take rejection, he bravely asks her to join Triumph. Her shocked expression says everything. With a confident grin, he extends his palm and offers her a spot not just for her might, but for who she truly is. The word haven echoes in her mind. There's warmth in it, something she's longed for but never claimed. She senses his sincerity, still wonders if he sees through the wall she hides behind. Clenching his fist with conviction, he recalls a promise made to never halt reaching out no matter what. As he prepares to depart, he softly leaves the door open. If she chooses, she knows where to go. He offers one final grin and bids her farewell. Offering they'll meet again, his tone holds faith, not pressure. As he walks aside, she remains on the bench, far and considered. The choice now rests with her solo. The following day, under a starlit sky, the guild celebrates its founding. Spirits are top and chuckles fills the house. Mugs clash with cheers. Happiness erupts between the gathered explorers as they toast the banished guild's beginning. During the lively crowd, casual complaints fly. Even family joins the festivity, forcing the instant both awkward and heartfelt. Nearby a table, companions raise drinks and chuckles follows. The guild's secure founding and a captured menace gives everybody reason to celebrate. Light joking breaks out. The guildmaster's father, casual as possibly, draws playful insults, still keeps the mood top. Their faith in Eisen becomes plain. Even the reserved guild cleric expresses faith in his guidance. Gripping her cup, she smiles kindly. To her, the banished guild is more than a spot. It's an ideal where outcasts can thrive. As jokes fly, former loneliness fades. They laugh not just at the instant, but for everything they've overcome together. On his designated cooking day, Eisen proudly presents a lavish feast. The guild companions gather nearby, set to enjoy both food and company. With a sigh and a grin, one guildmate remarks on Aizen's unchanging form, always brave. Always over-the-top laughter follows. Despite everything, he's really become a guild leader, somebody they can rely on. The awareness brings warmth, everybody shares drinks and stories. They recall school years, firm teachers, and how Aizen's earnestness left lasting impressions. As the mood softens, she turns to him with a grin, asking if he remembers the very initial while they met. In an instant of youthful chuckles, she recalls her carefree days with a friend beneath a tree, unaware of what would stem back. Then she trusted what others told her, that learning animals was unworkable, and she convinced herself to ignore it. Attempting to appear usual, she silenced her present. Even when birds sang plainly alongside her, she pretended not to notice. But one boy saw through the act, doubting why she ignored voices she could grasp. His remarks startled her. Now, with a gentle grin, she admits the fact he may have been the one who saved her back then. He smiles, remembering how no one trusted in him except her. That belief back then aided shape who he is now. Across the table, he thanks her genuinely for him. Finding a real companion like her was priceless. She turns aside, embarrassed but hiding it under a playful scoff. Her heart, though, reacts differently. Another guildmate bursts in, praising Aizen loudly. Flustered, she tries to deny everything, but the others continue joking. Through chuckles and drinks, the space fills with warmth. Even the shyest between them can't aid but grin. Chaos erupts when somebody realizes the juice is actually wine. The culprit grins unapologetically as joking and yelling fill the air. In a more serious tone, the guildmaster's father inquires about upcoming plans. He emphasizes the need to develop the guild's reputation normally. Aizen admits there's no shortcut. They must continue reaching out to the denied and missing. One by one, abruptly, a daring proposal is made: hunt the strong Aqua Hydra under the banished guild's name. The space goes quiet. Everyone stares, stunned. Even the seasoned drinkers wonder if he's joking or just very, very drunk. News spreads swiftly: lower-ranked squads have been assaulted by the Aqua Hydra. The guild issues an emergency extermination appeal with a top prize. The appeal wasn't random. It was made in assurance, amazed by Aizen's earlier success in capturing a perilous criminal. Surprise flares across the team. One companion shouts an objection, accusing the greater-ups of sending Aizen to his death. The pressure causes Virene to faint on the spot. The position feels too much for her to handle. Aizen voices doubt. With only 7 in the squad and no combat strength himself, facing the Hydra seems unworkable. He is taken aback when a masked person proposes a notion. What if they face the Hydra as a duo? Micah appears assured and combat set. She vows to show her strength, once part of an top dragon slaying squad. With determination in her voice, she cites her faith in Aizen, choosing to follow his lead in battle at his side. She declares that the banished guild is her haven. Now, alongside her, Virene wakes up groggy. Still recovering from the surprise, Micah greets her warmly. Together, they ready to question the Hydra with new bonds and purpose. Virene is shocked to realize she now has a junior teammate. The abrupt improve leaves her embarrassed. Meanwhile, deep inside the horror-filled dungeon, a new menace begins to stir beneath jagged stalactites. And top squad from Aegis prepares to intercept the Hydra. Confident in their might, they move rapidly towards the mission. A heavily armored fighter made position at the front, declaring his shield's talent to dispel any incoming magic. Without warning, the dim magic pierced through his defense. Shock overtook his cheeks as the blast carved a far injury down the center of his body. Violent explosions erupted across the battlefield. Shards of rock and magic scattered as a mage countered with a volley of spells. Fear struck the lady as black energy rose up her legs. She gazed in disbelief, realizing too slow the peril. Towering overhead them, the monstrous Hydra let out a deafening roar. Cyrus had completely awakened. 2 years later, the team reached at the Harana Cavern dungeon. A dim gateway surrounded by jagged cliffs expected them, silent and foreboding. Within, a young swordswoman launched a blow with intense determination. Sparks scattered as her blade met resistance. Abruptly, an enormous crab creature emerged, towering over the team, its sheer size taking them away defense. One of the girls yelled in fear as the monster's claw swung down. Her ally moved ahead, positioning herself between them. With perfect timing, she hit the claw mid-air, deflecting the blow. Her intense look signaled unwavering conviction. Spending her staff, Micah thrown a sleep spell. The giant crab collapsed with a weighty thud, subdued before it could blow anew. Celebration followed swiftly. Villain hugged Micah with admiration, praising her swift and flawless magic. Micah clarified the talent she used: Priestess's Blessing, granting temporary immunity to physical, enchanted, and status effects. A basic diagram illustrated its mechanics. Though strong, the spell drained her mana significantly. Still, she comforted the others that brief rest would rebuild it quickly. Thankful for her faith, Villain thanked Micah for sharing her hidden talent. Micah grinned, vowing never to repeat her defeat in Aegis anew. Report reached that the S-Rank squad Aegis, once led by Volk, had failed in their mission to subdue Aqua Hydra. Their defeat had results. Aizen listened closely. Micah, once a member of Aegis, remained quiet as the name Syras emerged the menace that brought down her former team. Clenching her fist, Micah braced self. Even Aegis's armored fighter had lost. The foe was far from ordinary. As guild leader, the man acknowledged the peril, entrusting Aizen to judge the battlefield with accuracy and confidence. With a strong declaration, he sent them away. Aizen's squad, now seen as the banished guild, would face the question ahead. The team realized Kagarina never came to spot them away. Villain reacted with exaggerated emotion. In response, Aizen comforted them. Micah promised to guard Villain, while Villain promised to backing Micah in return. Trio moved further into the cavern. Stalactites loomed overhead while distant echoes hinted at peril nearing. Abruptly, vibrations shook the cavern floor. Villain's expression pivoted serious as she sensed a powerful presence bringing close. From the shadows, an enormous monster charged forward. A monstrous hydra broke from the underground river, its 7 heads thrashing and roaring. Aizen staggered at the sight. This was the feared Aqua Hydra. Micah urgently shouted out to Villain, wondering if she was set. Aizen remained close behind them, focused and steady. Without hesitation, Villain dashed ahead, twin blades drawn. Her movements displayed no dread, only conviction. A flashback returned. Aizen once taught about the Aqua Hydra in a classroom. Its multiple heads enabled devastating, simultaneous assaults. He had cautioned that its water-press magic bypassed frail defenses to survive. They required precise coordination and unshakable conviction. One of the Hydra's heads unleashed its water-press spell, spiraling violently towards Villain. She gripped her stance, unharmed, guarded by enchanted protection. Micah yelled a reminder. Villain still bore the priestess's blessing. Her opinion was strong, filled with assurance. Encouraged, Villain countered with a strong blow. Her strike clashed with the Hydra's make, dispatching shockwaves through the cavern. Aizen assessed the position swiftly. Thanks to the blessing, water-press was nullified. He ordered Micah to press ahead and backing. Without pause, Micah invoked Wind Magic Storm Blade. Blades of wind surged outward, cutting through the mist towards their monstrous enemy. The Hydra thrashed wildly, dispatching waves of destruction in every direction. Villain narrowed her gaze, bracing for impact. A hare charged straight at her, jaws wide. She lifted her shield just in while, deflecting the monstrous blow. From a distance, Micah watched the clash. Despite the magical shield gripping firm, she noted that frailer spells wouldn't be enough to finish the battle. Aizen and Micah launched a joint counterattack. He unleashed Frost Nova, a spiral of freezing wind that engulfed the beast's heads. Zone of the Hydra's heads shattered from the forceful blow. Their combined assault had eventually broken through despite losing a hair. The Hydra's body started to twitch unnaturally. Aizen realized the combat wasn't over. In moments, the severed neck erupted. The monster possessed regeneration. To defeat it, they would need more than brute make. Micah's blessing allowed Villain to weave between assaults. Her heightened senses searched for a frail spot amidst the chaos. Meanwhile, Aizen analyzed the creature's reaction. Frozen heads stayed down longer if they could freeze more. Villain might blow cleanly. He clenched his fist with renewed conviction. If they could win here, it would show the real power of the banished guild. Micah confidently announced that as long as the priestess's blessing remained, Villain would be immune to enchanted assaults. The Hydra spell was repelled once more. Abruptly, the cavern ceiling began to failure. Aizen pivoted in surprise, realizing the beast had targeted the terrain itself. Rocks rained down. Aizen guarded Micah with his body crashing into the ground. Debris filled the room as fear surged. Meanwhile, Villain stood strong. She made another hit from a Hydra hair but triggered the second layer of physical nullification. Just in time from the rubble, Micah gazed in horror. Only one use of the protection remained, and the following blow could be fatal. Aizen viewed retreat as the falling ceiling left only one use of their protection spell. The danger of remaining grew too major. Moments afterward, rocks sealed the tunnel. Dust and debris clouded their surroundings, cutting away their escape. Trapped within, the squad realized their retreat was blocked. The position had pivoted dangerously critical. As the Aqua Hydra's assault seals their exit, Aizen and his allies are forced into a corner, peril closing in with no secure retreat. Overwhelmed by the monster's relentless volley, any try to dodge its 7-headed strikes now borders on suicide. Guilt tightens in his chest. Aizen acknowledges his miscalculation, knowing it placed his squad in harm's way. Despite the dark outlook, one of the girls talks up, convinced that all is not still lost. Her opinion steady, she reminds Aizen of his present, the rare talent to recognize hidden strength in others. Aizen recalls his mentor's remarks, reminding him that real value lies not in raw gift, but in those who nurture it. This memory stirs reflection. His goal was never glory, but to give the denied a spot to belong. He had only wished to display each of them that their individual strengths had meaning and aim, pivoting towards villain. He eventually calls her name with renewed conviction. Without hesitation, Aizen pulls her into a heartfelt embrace, whispering his gratitude for assisting him recall what really mattered. With steady resolve, Aizen praises his companions and leads them to shelter, knowing while is brief. Concealed behind a boulder, he begins forming a fresh strategy to halt the Aqua Hydra's rampage. Micah confirms the limitations of their blessing magic, mentioning that their one remaining use of physical nullification won't reset. Pondering the rules of impact classification, Aizen questions whether a blow could still count as a physical strike. He prepares to act, instructing Villain to focus only on evasion and positioning while he finalizes the strategy. Worry fills Micah's opinion as she questions the plan, concerned about leaving Villain exposed. With steady determination, she affirms her readiness. A spark in her eye shows she's not just willing, she's keen to show herself, especially in this instant. Standing tall against the monstrous Aqua Hydra, Villain declares her intent to dodge every blow. As Aizen watches, he recalls the day their trip started. Villain had grown no longer reluctant, now somebody he could really rely on. Micah smiles alongside him, expressing her unwavering faith in Aizen's decision. His talent to spot potential in others had once been doubted, but now it shines plainly in every decision. With a determined nod, Aizen and Villain lock fists, quietly confirming their faith before the fight resumes. He warns her not to take risks, but Villain charges forward, her opinion ringing out with assurance as she insists they depart it to her. She darts ahead, skillfully evading the incoming strike, her form keen and focused against the dusty battlefield. The Aqua Hydra retaliates immediately, launching a volley of deadly blasts in her direction, each one tearing through the air with immense make. Back in the shadows, Aizen commands Micah to dismiss Villain's guarding blessing. Timing is now critical for the strategy to succeed. Villain rapidly draws the Aqua Hydra's attention, weaving through its strikes, while keeping its focus locked on her. From behind the ridge, Aizen shouts to Micah, tossing a readied canister mid-air while naming for her to bless it. The enchanted container hits the water, designed to detonate on impact. With the shrine blessing neutralizing surprise, the setup is eventually in spot. Aizen cites his faith in Micah to finish the strategy. Without hesitation, Micah begins her spell, her voice naming the element of ice as might surges nearby her. Lifting her staff, she unleashes an enormous icicle spear, her spell aimed to strike real at the heart of the strategy. As the blessing is raised from the floating container, enchanted energy ripples through the water with ominous make. At that instant, a coordinated spell volley is unleashed towards the lake, precise, timed, and focused on the now exposed explosive. Each companion stares down the Hydra, their gaze burning with aim. Their teamwork converges on a single top-stakes gamble. Aizen's command triggers the blow, spells crash down like a storm, overwhelming the battlefield in an immediate. The Aqua Hydra reels violently. The make of the impact engulfs its enormous form. This is their final shot to make the tide. Aizen stood proudly before a team of newcomers, presenting them to their new haven, a large building meant for those exiled from their parties. Though distant from the town, its power lay in its community. As petals danced in the air, he kindly accepted a grinning blonde girl, her pet snug in her arms. A fresh chapter was beginning for them. At the guild's gateway, a fox-eared youngster greeted all with assurance. The Exiles Guild was open to those once thrown aside. A girl with fiery energy seized Aizen's palms, gaze brimming with gratitude and resolve. Presenting herself as Colette Husqvarna, she announced her grit and spirit, keen to start anew with her fellow misfits. Aizen received a celebratory present from a bright local who assured him that other guild companions would visit soon. Meanwhile, strain grew between two members as former emotional moments were remembered. One girl grew embarrassed while the fox-eared companion jokingly joked her. Their lively interactions swiftly became a team commotion. Chuckles filled the air as a newcomer watched the guild's chaotic but heartwarming camaraderie. Afterward, Colette silently reflected on her choice. She grinned, thankful for the fresh friends and hopeful for what lay forward. With renewed determination, Aizen triggered his appraisal skill, intent on uncovering her real potential to help her thrive inside the guild. A strong aura surged from Colette as a hidden talent awakened inside her, showing that even the exiled carried unique strengths yet to be seen. Aizen's gaze widened in awe, struck by the overwhelming potential radiating from somebody once judged unworthy. Years afterwards, steady returned. A silent morning began with steam growing from a warm cup, marking a peaceful instant after chaos. Report growth rapidly. Aizen's guild of rejects had defeated the Aqua Hydra. Headlines admired their feat, forcing waves across the adventurer realm. Their triumph stunned many. Once labeled frail, the dismissed adventurers now stood united, hailed as the ones who accomplished what elite parties could not. Despite their recent triumph, open uncertainty still remained. Many remained unconvinced that exiled explorers could really surpass hopes. Inside a newly acquired building, Aizen sat silently. Though it was spacious and steady, the impact of his responsibility pushed on him. Shortly after he and his squad received advice from trusted partners, with renewed direction, they started shaping their coming goals more plainly. Thanks to the reward from the Aqua Hydra, they secured sufficient funds to purchase a suitable base pieces, and conviction backed their plans. Now, that very haven stood as the formal headquarters of the Exiles Guild, a new foundation for their fights and bonds ahead. Colette greeted the morning with energy, arms complete of firewood set to contribute from the start of the day. Aizen appreciated her, amazed she'd previously begun chores. She cheerfully recalled him that, as the latest member, she was keen to prove herself. Meanwhile, the other girls still slept soundly. After working slow in the maze the previous day, they were given while to rest. Humming to self, Colette pivoted to preparing breakfast. Her lively attitude and tasks ethic aided her blend readily with the team. Still, under her cheer, she represented a further issue, a reflection of the lingering instability the Exiles Guild still had to face. Aizen shouted for a suitable trial of Colette's battle abilities. Keen to show herself, she responded with confidence, weapon in palm. He assigned Villain and Micah to backing roles, instructing Colette to approach the creatures as she normally would in combat. Without pause, a team of hobgoblins arrived. Though ranked B class, their figures made them a genuine menace. Caution was necessary. Rushing ahead, Colette launched herself into the fray with an intense combat cry and unwavering energy. Her spear struck with explosive make, carving through the enemy with a display of raw might and accuracy. Colette faced the moving hobgoblins head-on, her gaze blazing with determination. With no sign of hesitation, she readied for the following blow. Blades clashed and sparks flew as she danced between foes, dodging swings and countering with relentless make and keen reflexes. Despite once being dismissed for poor stats, Colette had belonged to a rank squad. Her dismissal was based on figures, not real capability, perhaps due to similar former hardships. Villain had grown especially close to her, a bond created through shared struggle and quiet understanding. Under her bright demeanor, Colette remained basic and straightforward. She was, by all appearances, a normal explorer, but one who declined to back down. As energy surged through her, Colette entered a heightened state. Still, Aizen, observing cautiously, detected nothing especially unique, only raw effort and will. Abruptly, a great goblin swung down at her. She faltered, taken away guard by the monster's brute strength and abrupt aggression. Before peril hit, Villain and Micah moved in. Flames and make interrupted the strike, protecting Colette at the crucial instant. The beast was engulfed in a strong explosion of fire magic, pivoting the tide of the encounter with a dazzling finish. Afterward, Colette sat with the others, apologizing for her recklessness. They recalled her that pushing beyond her bounds wasn't value getting hurt. While the others shared cheerful banter, Micah watched the team quietly, her sharp look analyzing every movement with subtle caution. Shortly after, Colette placed a bag of pieces on the table, the prize from their recent mission. Routine or not, the spend was fair. As light conversation filled the space, Micah approached Aizen with a sly appear, curious about what he was really thinking behind his steady demeanor. When asked about Colette's hidden talent, Aizen responded that it was quite unique and talent value exploring further despite its subtleties. Moments later, another squad member joked Aizen for his vague replies, catching him off guard with a playful jab and knowing grin. Kagurina indicated out Aizen's hesitation, and the team silently acknowledged his uncertain expression, leaving him flustered. Uncertain of his own thoughts, Aizen confessed he might be troubled, though he hadn't realized it himself until now. He reflected on Colette, thinking she might hold in reply to a long-standing question he carried deep within. Spending appraisal, they examined her status. Still, the result was unexpected. Colette had no concealed talent at all. Aizen gazed up with wide gaze, curious about the man who had reached in his village. He pondered if the outsider was a major adventurer, moving alongside the armored fellow. Aizen listened intently. The man claimed to be normal, yet held a mysterious strength, one that protected the village from hiding creatures. With a firm palm on Aizen's hair, the man gave advice meant to final a lifetime. Aizen was informed to recall it well. Years afterward, Aizen awoke from sleep, gazing at the ceiling, the former still vivid. Pouring a drink by the window, he reflected quietly. The goal was a distant remembrance of youth, one he still carried. Aizen remembered the remarks from his childhood during the combat with the Aqua Hydra. The memory returned as he watched a new guild member entering their ranks. Colette's strength, hidden under her bright exterior, disclosed itself as she effortlessly split the wood with a single strike. Her latent talent had awakened. Observing from the window, Aizen paused. He hadn't told her the fact about her hidden promise yet and challenged whether she could handle it. Despite being labeled talentless, Colette's natural might propose otherwise something didn't add up. Aizen sipped silently, admitting even his appraisal couldn't fully grasp the unseen depths of hidden talents. Two girls greeted Aizen sleepily, one rubbing her gaze under a comical cat-eared mask, while the other stifled a yawn in her nightgown. He accepted them kindly as they entered the room, offering to prepare drinks for both, which they happily embraced. Seated together, they received their cups while Aizen mentioned a nostalgic goal, hinting at a memory that remained in his thoughts. As the masked girl made a sip, Aizen reflected on his childhood and the adventurer who inspired him to follow the route of a guild leader. Their conversation lightened as another guild companion entered with a bright greeting, lifting the morning mood with energy. Colette's top energy brightened the space as she cheerfully greeted everybody. Her energy encouraged the others to follow her charge. Abruptly, Aizen indicated out something amiss Falin's bedhead. Flustered, she panicked and hurried aside to fix her hair, cheeks burning red while Colette made a cheeky remark. The junior girl observed it might be wiser not to say such things nearby Villain. A keen rustle of wings echoed through the space as a majestic hawk wearing a tie landed nearby, drawing their attention. Landing on Aizen's arm, the hawk delivered a message. A letter from Kagari had reached, its details unclear but surely crucial. A letter from Kagari pressed Aizen to visit swiftly, hinting that a surprising guest had reached. However, no name was noted. Confused, Aizen attempted to guess who it could be. If Kagari was forcing such a fuss, the visitor must be somebody major. Their goal was plain Daytona Boulevard. The team readied to hare toward the meeting point. As Aizen moved through the lively marketplace, familiar vendors and townspeople shouted out to him with bright greetings. He grinned kindly, realizing his name was turning well-known. One day, he'd stand up to the title of an admired guild leader. In a playful mood, Aizen attempted on a fake mustache, striking a bold pose. The rest of the team gazed, speechless and bewildered. Colette chuckled it away, assuring him that appearances didn't matter. Villain uneasily agreed, and the others followed with forced smiles. At the bustling market, Aizen watched that many adventurers now wore status scanners, a wave he hadn't spotted before. He softly recalled Colette that an adventurer's value couldn't be measured in numbers. She respected his belief, naming it inspiring and cool. With renewed energy, she promised to follow him anywhere. Aizen thanked her with a grin, ignorant of Villain's silent resolve echoing the same. Despite uncertainties surrounding Colette's concealed talent, Aizen never doubted her value. Her presence solo-inspired spirit and raised the team's spirits. Reaching at the guild hall, Aizen and his squad were greeted kindly by Kagari, who had been expecting them with anticipation. When Aizen inquired about the guest, Kagari joked the shock, claiming it was a VIP that would astonish them. Within, Colette recognized unknown cheeks. She hadn't expected to spot them here, not in Daytona. 3 figures arrived, men from Colette's former. Their presence brought strain, and their reunion was anything but normal. Aizen mastered the fresh arrivals' plan to settle in the region. One of them recognized Colette, prompting him to ask about their connection. The great man chuckled, revealing that Colette was once part of their squad. Trollhammer, though they had discarded her without regret. They clarified her dismissal with harsh logic, noting her low numerical stats as proof of her weakness. Villain reacted with shock and rage. Despite the stinging fact, Colette forced a grin, acknowledging her lack of strength but plainly shaken. Mockery continued. Villain's defense faltered, hurt by the insult towards their guild being shouted a weakling's refuge. Villain's gaze burned with frustration as she glared at the former squad, unable to accept their insults towards Colette. The opposing explorers talked with arrogant certainty, declaring a hierarchy where the strong, like themselves, stood above the frail. Aizen intervened, stopping Kagari from being drawn into their elitist mindset. This was not the spirit Avalon represented. Though cautioned of Trollhammer's S-rank status, Aizen's expression hardened. Their titles didn't intimidate him. With conviction, Aizen moved ahead. He made it plain he wouldn't remain quiet while his comrades and guild were being disrespected. It was while they backed away, Colette looked to Aizen with faith, while narration revealed how Avalon shunned discrimination but the realm still branded the exiled as incompetent. Resolved, Eisen affirmed that he founded the guild to question such prejudice, giving strength to those others thrown aside. The Trollhammer companions reeled in surprise. They hadn't realized this was the very guild that had defeated the Aqua Hydra. One attempted to dismiss them as few youngsters, but Eisen's glare silenced him. The atmosphere shifted, stepping ahead. Eisen issued a question. If Trollhammer wanted strife, he would face them beyond. As equals, the companions of Trollhammer stood dumbfounded as the crowd started to cheer for Eisen, their momentum clearly crumbling. Kagari chuckled to self. Eisen's direct honesty never altered, though it plainly left a strong impression even now. Abruptly, a booming opinion echoed through the house. A tall, charismatic fellow entered, wondering if this was really the famed Exiles Guild. Descending the stairs confidently, the outsider beamed, claiming he'd been gazing ahead to the meeting with Eisen. He identified himself with flair and envoy, bearing respect and renown for Eisen, naming him Guildmaster Eisen Tesla. The space dropped quiet. The fellow disclosed his identity as the alchemist Faust Multipla, the original inventor behind the Status Scouter tool. A mysterious man called Faust introduces himself with honor as the inventor of the Status Scanner, a device that revolutionized adventurer evaluation. The team is amazed by his presence, recognizing Faust as a legendary person who brought status analysis into practical use. Eisen stands shocked as Faust talks to him directly, steadily acknowledging the honor of their meeting. Faust reveals the real origin of the dismissal boom that spread through adventurer ranks rooted in misuse of the scanner. As the companions of the Exiles Guild stand united, Faust questions how the so-shouted frail possess such overwhelming strength. Eisen remained unimpressed, asking a plain aim behind Faust's visit. Surrounded by the guild members, he challenged why a renowned inventor would stem to them directly. With a sly grin, Faust disclosed his real interest data related to Eisen himself. The guild speculated that if the mystery behind Eisen's concealed might could be unraveled, more undervalued explorers might flourish. Extending his palm, Faust suggested a partnership, thinking that their cooperation could reshape the realm of adventurers and elevate the capabilities of those cast aside. Onlookers observed in awe as Faust personally extended his palm to Eisen, naming it a guaranteed path to success. With the offer before him, Eisen remained quiet, showing badly on what such a partnership would mean. He recognized the invention's impact on the adventuring realm, but also recognized its unintended place in spreading discrimination. Faust demanded that with Eisen's cooperation, the harm caused by the dismissal boom could be reversed. Pivoting to the others, Faust proposed that many among them were no longer weak, they now stood firmly on the side of might. Eisen indicated out that Faust's vision would eventually create a fresh form of discrimination. He strongly denied the offer, stating he couldn't cooperate under present circumstances. Instead, he pleaded with Faust to use his influence as the device's creator to aid end the cycle of dismissal and bias in the explorer realm. Faust listened quietly, nodding as if he grasped Eisen's intent. But then, his expression moved sharply. With icy gaze, he accused Eisen of sounding like a hypocrite, leaving the entire guild shocked by his words. Faust announced that division among the strong and frail was a natural process and blamed adventurers themselves for triggering the dismissal trend. He claimed that no matter how moved a device may be, its impact depended only on how it was used, deflecting all responsibility. Abruptly, Faust disclosed he had visited Eisen's aged academy before coming, alarming the guild. Leaning in, he recited what he mastered, that Eisen possessed the rare talent to perceive hidden promise in others. Eisen, meeting his look without hesitation, confirmed that it was real. The guild members grew restless, puzzled by the strain as Faust and Eisen confronted one another in the center of the house. As Faust moved closer, he speculated that Eisen must have been using his hidden talent when choosing fresh allies, subconsciously judging their value. He pressed further, arguing that if Eisen claimed exiles had value, then he too was discriminating, selecting based on hidden potential. With a sly smile, Faust claimed there was no difference between them, even claiming his aims were more benevolent. One of the guild members couldn't stay quiet, lifting her voice in protest, denying Faust's twisted comparison and defending Eisen's real nature. The guild members observed tensely as Faust challenged whether Eisen's unique ability was the only reason behind their present success. Twisting the argument, Faust ridiculed them, suggesting that if Eisen had no unique might. Without hesitation, Eisen affirmed that he would. He had done so already, not since of their figures, but because of their suffering and will to stand anew. His remarks were echoed by his companions, who recalled how he had accepted them despite their scars and struggles. Standing tall, Eisen recognized his talent to spot hidden talents, but emphasized that it was compassion, not evaluation, that guided his decisions. Eisen confessed that he had used his ability to backing the guild, and while that was real, he couldn't deny its usefulness. However, he strongly announced that the power of the Exiles Guild wasn't just rooted in individual might, it came from the bonds between its members. He recalled Faust that while the status scanner was a powerful tool, squads made solely of high figures had failed to achieve results. Clenching his fist, Eisen reiterated the point: no matter how useful, a tool's impact depends fully on who wields it. With unwavering gaze, he drove the message: Haven, we're not figures. Eisen proclaimed that he would welcome anyone into the guild and aid them locate a spot where their individuality could shine brightest. He then emphasized a path difference between him and Faust: possessing might came with responsibility, and what they chose to do with that might judge them. His companions listened in awe, some touched, others grinning with honor as Eisen voiced what they had all sensed. Thoughts of Eisen's past resolve emerged, highlighting how his unwavering honesty had always inspired others nearby him. But Faust's honor shattered. Overwhelmed with anger, he lashed out, declining to be belittled by someone he judged ordinary. Furious and humiliated, Faust indicated at Eisen and yelled his question. He demanded an official duel against the Exiles Guild in the name of adventurer honor. His anger burned in silence, while some nearby adventurers uneasily murmured, unsure whether to flee before things escalated further. Faust then shouted out to a nearby S-Rank squad, putting them on the spot and suggesting they should be powerful enough to battle on his behalf. He provided them an outrageous sum, 2,000 gold pieces, pleading with them to take his spot in the upcoming duel. Puzzled by the question, Eisen's allies asked about the difference between a duel and a basic fight. The rules of the duel were clarified. Both squads would enter a labyrinth and compete to complete a set objective, like defeating a creature or recovering a rare item. Which wasn't surprising since explorers were more prone to immediate action than formalities. Micah reflected on how the dismissal boom had reduced in squad conflicts, but increased messy internal disputes, creating up unpleasant memories. Others admired Micah's knowledge of the duel order, though she humbly attributed it to tough experiences in her previous squad. Meanwhile, the opposing hired squad, lured by the promise of 2,000 gold pieces, agreed to battle for Faust, confident in the prize and ready to clash. Micah encouraged Eisen to take this as a perfect opportunity, hinting it was a fine while to settle more than just the question at palm. The opposing mercenary squad, assured and smirking, stood set. Eisen, though steady, recalled himself that even formal duels were born from mutual acknowledgement, and he hated Faust's very beliefs. With steady resolve, Eisen officially embraced the question. Facing Faust, he announced his readiness to respond to the duel with everything he had. Faust's cheeks twisted into a victorious smile. He was assured that his status scanner selected warriors would show superior. The two men stood cheeks to face, each embodying their core beliefs, one trusting figures, the other trusting folks. A flamboyant foe issues a question 10 years until their duel, daring the Exiles Guild to show up. His guildmate steps ahead in frustration, warning that their enemy is the brilliant inventor Faust, backed by an S-rank squad with overwhelming might. Unshaken, Eisen addresses the team. He criticizes Faust's belief in assigning value through figures, criticizing an order that reduces people to stats. Others reflect on former hardships under that mindset. For them, this duel represents an uncommon opportunity to overturn an unfair request. Eisen proclaims their goal: a realm where every explorer, regardless of rank, can thrive through individuality, not figures. Explains that this upcoming combat isn't just a confrontation, it's an opportunity to end the toxic exile wave. One member hesitates, taken off guard by the situation, but swiftly regains resolve, knowing their purpose hasn't altered. With renewed energy, she pledges faith in Eisen and prepares to strike back, determined to show their value. The rest of the guild rallies with lifted fists, their spirits raised. Even skeptics start to sense something exciting is unfolding. Meanwhile, an observer called Raiden watches from above, amused by Eisen's brave action to oppose Faust. Raiden sits cross-legged, amused as Eisen approaches. With a casual motion, Eisen extends a palm, hinting he never once selected a battle first. Both broke into chuckles, clapping shoulders in mutual understanding. Eisen praises Raiden's brave spirit, stating he admires that fearless decisiveness. Once a respected chief of one of the 3 major guilds, Raiden had pivoted his focus to training the next generation of adventurers. Long ago, he was seen as the howling wolf of shadows, a fierce fighter with unmatched skill in combat. Observing Eisen's determination stirs something inside him. Still, Raiden silently cautions Eisen to remain keen in the challenges ahead. Raiden considers the position. With Faust as the opponent, things get complicated. His inventions and influence have entrenched him badly in the guild's politics. Still, Eisen remains composed. He believes there's a way to tilt the position so that his partners will have a genuine chance to win. Raiden, However, voices worry about dealing with formal procedures backed by the Union. One of the guild companions urges him not to back down. If he understands the stakes, he must act. This is what being one of the 4 emperors means. Faust, they reveal, is backed by a powerful faction, shouted Valk, forcing direct action perilous. A strong fighter affiliated with the Hecatoncaire Guild stands against Faust's faction. The Adventurer Guild Alliance, an enormous organization spanning the globe, is divided even between the 4 emperors. Raiden explains Faust's honor is notorious. He cannot stand the notion of his inventions being mocked or rejected, and the duel was probably staged to assert dominance. Aizen acknowledges the irony: exiled explorers pitted against the very fellow whose invention led to their denial. The matchup couldn't be more symbolic. However, levity doesn't final. One of Aizen's allies squeezes him in frustration, scolding him for joking during such a serious instant. Kagarina worries their hard-earned renown might be erased if they fail. She voices her fears while gripping back sobs, knowing how far they've stemmed. Overwhelmed, she breaks down, wondering how Aizen can still grin at a while like this. Aizen leans into her, silently confirming that he can keep going since of his companions, because she is with him. He recalls past fights where everybody trusted in his potential, even when things felt hopeless. Eventually, it's not just might that drives Aizen forward, it's the unwavering faith of those standing behind him. Raiden watches the emotional talk between Aizen and Kagarina with a faint grin, amused by the awkward embrace that followed, attempting to play it cool. Aizen insists a guildmaster should always appear assured. His antics, however, only spark more irritation from Kagarina and chuckles from their allies. Raiden jokingly suggests he might be more charming than Aizen, provoking a fiery reaction. Chaos erupts as Aizen collapses dramatically, grumbling about being bullied while others laugh or storm away in frustration. Despite the uproar, both Aizen and Raiden sit side by side, committed to doing whatever they can for the combat forward. With an assured smirk, Raiden urges the squad to focus on the combat ahead. He'll continue watch behind the scenes, trusting the Exiles Guild to do their part, united in conviction. Aizen and his teammates respond with determination. This is the instant they've readied for. Now on the day of the duel, the stage is turned. Aizen and Faust cheeks away, their images projected for all to spot. The Combat Exiles Guild versus Thor Hammer is announced open. An enormous crowd gathers, buzzing with excitement. Aizen sweats uneasily as he realizes the duel's scale has spiraled beyond hopes. The battle for beliefs is now an open spectacle. Excitement rippled through the crowd as distant explosions painted the sky, stepping ahead with composed expressions. The 2 central figures attracted attention. Their presence solo radiated assurance, hinting at the clash to stem. The announcer disclosed the contenders: the unstoppable S-Rank squad Troll Hammer and the growing stars of the expelled guild slayers of the Aqua Hydra. Spectators erupted with untamed cheers. Fists pumped the air, their voices unified in roaring permission for the thrilling match forward. Smiling broadly, the host announced the honor-fueled duel officially underway. All gaze pivoted to the battlefield as the decisive instant began. Aizen and his squad moved onto the stage, taken aback by the sheer size of the crowd. Faust, ever assured, exchanged remarks with Aizen, plainly pleased with the overwhelming turnout and their shared astonishment. Proudly, Faust gestured to the towering enchanted devices overhead, his own inventions designed to project and amplify the spectacle for the whole arena. A floating orb arrived on display, introduced as the latest magical drone capable of broadcasting the combat with crystal clarity to every spectator. While Aizen challenged the enormous crowd, Faust dramatically marveled at his own genius, only to be recalled it was all thanks to smart promotion. Facing the enormous crowd, Faust pointed bravely towards Aizen's team, declaring the need for all to witness their crushing defeat firsthand. Aizen quietly assessed the position. He detected their opponents' honor and need for dominance ran far, perhaps even dangerously so. With a sly smile, Faust announced the basic rules of the duel. Formal judges from the Guild Alliance observed quietly from their seats. The objective was unveiled: an uncommon flare flower blooming atop a perilous ravine would decide the victor. The initial to retrieve it would win. Seen as the fellow-eating ravine was infamous for claiming countless explorers. Without hesitation, both squads hurried towards the perilous starting point. Companions of the rival squad regrouped with smug expressions. One of them challenged the whereabouts of path partners who were strangely absent. Their absence was no mystery: 2 members had been rejected for a top-covering job. The explanation, though casual, plainly unsettled Aizen's squad. Faust boasted that his personally scouted adventurers would show their superiority, forcing this duel a showcase of his own credibility and decision. He then distanced himself from the match, claiming he'd only observe. Still, he justified bending the rules by recruiting powerful partners from the crowd. Aizen denied the manipulation, stating the squad with unlisted companions should be disqualified. The two teams faced each other with intense determination. Faust lifted his opinion, announcing the duel's start and urging each adventurer to stake their honor. At his signal, both teams launched into motion. Weapons set and gaze focused, they surged ahead across the rocky terrain. Their movement was instantly broadcasted on an enormous screen, captivating the crowd as Aizen's squad made the lead. Every companion pressed themselves at complete speed, the narrow canyon echoing with footsteps. Both sides raced towards the target flower without hesitation. Despite the strain, Aizen's teammates exchanged rapid encouragements, voicing resolve, reminding each other to stay safe, and committing to triumph together. At a fork in the ravine, both teams split paths. Each team cautiously considered which route might give them an advantage in the treacherous terrain forward. Just as they were about to proceed, Aizen's squad abruptly paused. One of their members detected something strange and lifted her arm to halt them. Aizen inquired if Viren's heightened intuition sensed anything. She responded uneasily, describing a sinister sensing hiding further down the route. Viren included that between the creature presence, she could also sense something human, an unexpected and unsettling mix that made her shiver. Realizing Faust wouldn't hesitate to stage underhanded tricks, Aizen deduced concealed foes might be lying in wait. With a assured grin, Aizen instructed Viren on the rendezvous point. He recalled the squad that carelessness would only invite danger and nodded to Micah and Faith. Meanwhile, members of the rival S-Rank squad rushed headfirst into a beast encounter, driving their way through with brute strength and aggressive tactics. Strain escalated as one member yelled orders mid-combat. The position grew chaotic, and spells weren't landing as expected. Coordination was plainly escaping down. A monstrous tail spread across the ground, bringing a strong impact. Despite the close call, one fighter brushed it away, claiming it hadn't hit. His casual attitude attracted mixed reactions from the rest of the squad. Frustration boiled over as one companion demanded healing, only to be met with strict denial. Jackson grew tense, observing the team's absence of coordination. Injuries were piling up, and each companion appeared to act without regard for the others. Tensions erupted further. Insults scattered, and the team started blaming one another for their failures. Their teamwork started to clearly crack under pressure. From a distant view, Faust clicked his tongue in irritation. Despite his expectations, the top squad was wasting while bickering instead of performing. Faust's commentary pivoted sarcastic as he admired the S-Rank squad while mocking the guild's boring but effective effort. Worried whispers growth between the spectators. One youngster challenged whether Aizen and his squad were all right, sensing something was amiss in the shadows. Her companion, keen-eyed and steady, deduced the fact. Aizen's team had probably been ambushed by explorers secretly hired by Faust. Awareness struck her only a handler could pull this away discreetly. It wasn't normal cheating, this was planned sabotage, spending controlled creatures. He confirmed her suspicions. Prepared creatures were far more lethal than wild ones, and their assaults could be timed to sap the enemy's strength efficiently. Meanwhile, he observed the enemies faced by Troll Hammer were too frail for the region. Realizing the position, one observer observed the judges must have been bribed to overlook the foul play. Faust's influence ran far, but the expelled guild had a strategy. Viren's sense for foe placement and Micah's magic yielded them an edge in avoiding unnecessary fights. Faust started to fail composure. His cautiously arranged ambushes had failed, and Aizen's squad was advancing directly towards the goal. Abruptly, the two teams, Troll Hammer and the expelled guild, converged at a narrow point in the ravine, locking gaze with growing tension. Without hesitation, both sides bolted ahead at complete speed, the settled stretch of the race now fully underway. Only one route remained to the mountaintop where the flare flower bloomed. The two squads surged forward neck and neck. Though battles couldn't be completely shunned, Aizen's squad had reached this point with minimal pause thanks to Viren's detection and Micah's support. However, the continuous use of magic and heightened senses had exhausted both girls. Their stamina was nearly at its limit. Without hesitation, Colette rushed ahead with all her remaining strength, determined to escape through and seize the lead. Aizen shouted out to her, knowing the combat forward would require coordinated movements and full strength from every single teammate. Despite her exhaustion, Colette pressed ahead. She was determined to be useful to the squad, even if she lacked unique talents. Sobs welled up, but her conviction didn't falter. Colette recalled self that grit and spirit were her only weapons. Fueled by pure determination, she sprinted forward with an intense cry, astonishing both partners and enemies as she surged to the front. Her brave move stunned everybody. Aizen called out her name as even the audience watching remotely erupted in surprise. But just before she could escape through, Viren yelled a warning. Something was mistaken, and the expelled guild was forced to halt. Just as the fighter moved, a shadow charged from behind. In an immediate, his body was grabbed mid-charge by a towering demonic beast. The others stiffened in surprise. A uncommon, top-class lesser demon had arrived, dragging the wounded fighter's body in its claws before anyone could react. Beads of sweat rolled down Jackson's face as he uneasily glanced nearby, startled by someone abruptly calling his name. Inside the towering canyon walls, Strain built as one man challenged the presence of another, furious that Daz's banishment hadn't ended things. Hesitating mid-move, Jackson listened to a firm warning behind him. Crossing certain lines could lead to exile not just from a squad, but from the whole adventurer's domain. A burly man mocked Daz's foolishness, yet warmly provided Jackson a chance to squad up, insisting he wasn't a bad guy. Daz readily fooled, always forced the others to deal with the results of his blunders. As tensions emerged, one of the squad members gave up, claiming Aizen would only understand their value after suffering on his own. Without warning, a strong blow hit one of the team members, sending him crashing down, blood splattering across the battlefield. Top overhead, a monstrous demon appeared. Chaos erupted as its terrifying form loomed over the lost warriors, set to strike anew. Aizen arrived in the nick of while, clashing with the monster to shield his allies. Determination burned in his gaze as he countered the monster's strike in a single swift action. The demon charged, ripping through the mage and driving Daz aside. Its speed left no while to react. Aizen and his companions swiftly assessed the menace, a lesser demon, a rare and extremely perilous monster, even among S-rank classifications. Dread growth as the girls realized its identity. The creature belonged to a demonic lineage so strong that even experienced top squads risked defeat. Tension grew. One companion cursed their bad luck while the others braced for combat. Daz, wounded and dazed, struggled to recover. Panic took hold. Aizen weighed their chances. With Daz injured and another ally exhausted, escape appeared nearly unworkable given the demon's overwhelming speed. Even the slightest opening could charge to total annihilation. Their outcome now rested on avoiding a single misstep. The group hesitated. The question echoed, should they run or battle? Strain hung thick in the air. Rapid analysis pinpointed the demon's frail spot just close the heart. A minor opportunity, but one they could exploit. Spotting escape wasn't an option. The girls steeled themselves. Determined expressions swapped their dread as they readied for battle. Aizen observed their conviction and gave a nod of permission. They were ready. He readied to charge the counterattack, yelling orders. Aizen instructed Colette to remove with Daz, but as she pivoted to run, another teammate demanded on remaining. Aizen cautioned the others, both their strength and while were rushing out. Daz required treatment instantly or risked death. With urgency in her opinion, the fighter encouraged Daz to action. Trusting her instincts, she made charge and readied to retreat. Abruptly, the demon soared into the air with deadly speed, targeting the fleeing team. Its claws sliced through the wind. Standing strong, the healer lifted her staff in defiance. She promised not to let the creature lay a single finger on her allies. As the demon charged anew, she braced herself, determined to hold the line solo. Just as they started to catch their breath, the demon launched another assault. Aizen and the healer pivoted in surprise, bracing for impact with its jaws wide open. The creature closed in. Micah steadied her nerves as Aizen yelled reassurance. The spear-wielding fighter continued to defend her. Summoning divine might, Micah unleashed a broke of sacred light, momentarily halting the demon's charge. The strike taking the creature away guard. Noticing an opening, she readied her next move with precise timing, yelling the cue. Her blade pierced the demon's chest right where its heart lay concealed. The struck landed real. To everyone's shock, the demon withstood the heart-piercing blow. Its dim claws lashed out, driving the healer to retreat. In one swift return, the beast knocked her top into the air. Aizen shouted out in alarm while others rushed to react. Shaken but conscious, the healer couldn't trust her strike had failed. She was certain she'd hit a fatal opening. Recognizing the demon's adaptability, the mage announced they'd make a fresh opening. She lifted her staff, preparing her spell with accuracy. A volley of icy magic shot forth, striking the demon in a coordinated assault, eventually driving it into retreat. Strong shockwaves shattered the ground. Aizen dove ahead and taken Micah just in while, shielding her from the debris. Before she could recover, the demon charged anew. Micah stood her ground, lifting her arm despite the menace above. The team realized they were being tested. The demon wasn't just assaulting, it was probing for frail points and learning from each blow. They now understood the lesser demon's real power wasn't brute make or speed, but its exceptional intelligence and adaptability. Aizen's expression shifted. If the demon could discover from them, perhaps they could manipulate that to their advantage. Colette reached well-being, breathless and shaken. Gazing back towards the battlefield, her thoughts raced with concern for those still battling. Abruptly, familiar voices shouted out Jackson and Bayuik had reached. Puzzled and alarmed, They demanded to understand what was happening. Colette swiftly clarified the position. A strong lesser demon had arrived, overwhelming even their most capable fighters. Surprise approved across their faces. Bayuik frightened and pressed them to flee, instantly suggesting, "Colette, do the same." She dropped her hair, conflicted and quiet. With determination hardening her look, Colette pivoted back. She asked the others to guard Daz, then ran towards the peril. Her companions yelled from behind, desperation and worry in their voices. But she didn't halt. Colette apologized gently, her back still pivoted. She regretted not stopping Daz's foolish conduct earlier and shared their pain. She, too, knew what it sensed like to be thrown aside. Determined not to let Daz or anyone else suffer anew, their burly ally vowed that things would be distinct this, while a faint pained grin created on Colette's cheeks. If I abandon my companions now, she considered. As she pivoted and sprinted ahead, the others could only watch in quiet. Her conviction was plain: she would return to the battlefield, no matter the cost. Colette sprinted ahead with unwavering resolve to reunite with her allies and face the enemy at their side. With blessings flowing from Micah and Viren poised to blow, the squad moved with accuracy. A monstrous demon appeared, its roar shaking the canyon. Aizen steadily issued commands, trusting Viren and Micah to execute the strategy without hesitation. Firing launched into the air, blade drawn as enchanted shards rained down from overhead. Micah followed closely, providing backing mid-flight. The demon lashed out, claws tearing through the wind. Viren countered with make, while Micah held the creature's focus divided. Studying the flow of combat, Aizen gripped back the settled command. Timing was critical. He pressed patience, knowing a real opening would shortly reveal itself. The demon's gaze widened in uncertainty, sensing something unnatural in the attack's rhythm. Its instincts flared in fear. With accuracy, Viren struck towards the creature's face, her blade piercing close its eye. The abrupt blow forced it back in pain. Observing from below, Aizen yielded a faint grin. Everything was unfolding precisely as he predicted. He had calculated the demon's reaction, knowing it would fixate on Viren's feint. That instant of hesitation opened a fatal gap. Micah grabbed the opportunity, unleashing a beam of searing light. Her magic hit real, ending the combat in a flash of brilliance. An enormous beam of light pierced the sky, striking the demon's chest with overwhelming make. Its body jerked violently from the impact. The beast staggered in the air, bleeding bursting from its center as it struggled to remain upright. Meanwhile, Micah clutched her staff strongly. The strategy Aizen had proposed, switching their roles mid-combat, was now in motion. Instead of assisting from behind, Micah delivered the settled blow. Severin had simply caused the opening amid the fading dust. Aizen raised his hair, coughing as he tried to spot the outcome. His opinion trembled, uncertain if they had prevailed. Through the clearing smoke, Aizen spotted movement. The demon still breathed. Its body, though torn, declined to fall. Despite a gaping hole in its chest, the lesser demon surged ahead. Aizen's gaze widened in shock at its persistence. Before the creature could blow, a fresh person intervened. Colette, wielding his spear, landed a critical blow across the demon's cheeks. Even so, the monster pivoted its fury towards him. Aizen realized Colette was now the target of the enraged creature. Siren hurried in to intercept. Sword drawn, the combat wasn't over, and every second counted to guard their wounded ally, gaze locked with intense determination. She had no intention of letting the creature harm her partners anew. In one swift motion, she drove her blade into the demon's chest, dispatching its enormous body recoiling from the make. Aizen gazed in shocked quiet, his breathing heavy. Ease washed over him as the creature eventually collapsed. Abruptly, Colette hurried forward, naming out. Her opinion burst the strain as she approached Aizen. Without warning, she dropped to her knees and apologized tearfully. Colette had disobeyed but had returned carrying guilt instead of dread. Colette dropped her hair, set to accept any punishment. Her expression mixed regret with conviction. Instead of scolding her, Aizen provided his palm. He recognized her effort and thanked her genuinely for returning in while. Severin moved ahead, gratitude in her opinion. She appreciated Colette for rescuing Aizen's life when it mattered most. Nearby, Micah confessed her mistake, blaming self for endangering their chief. She admired Viren's instincts with newfound respect. Together, anew. The team stood relieved. Aizen commended them all. Pleased they overcame the combat safely, each playing a crucial place. Aizen moved his focus. The combat was over, but he recognized they had to report everything to the guild instantly. As the squad readied to depart, a crucial detail slipped his mind, one that would soon prove important. Unnoticed overhead, a magic surveillance drone hovered. It had recorded everything from start to finish. Meanwhile, fear hid a gathering. Chiefs observed the broadcast, shocked that a lesser demon had been defeated by the so-called banished. In the crowd, explorers erupted in surprise and awe. The Exiles Guild was no longer a joke. It was now a make to be reckoned with. Inside the guild's house, panic growth. The adventurers were starting to accept the exiles' real strength, bringing tension among the elite. Faust, frantic to guard his reputation, staggered beyond in frustration. The menace to his genius status was too major to ignore. Clutching his glasses, he murmured a strategy, fabricated investigations, and forged evidence would surely discredit the upstarts. Before he could act, abrupt ambush hit. A barking dog and screeching hawk sent him tumbling to the ground in surprise. From the shadows, the exiled squad appeared. Faust was silenced, his schemes interrupted before they could start. The lady moved forward with assurance, dismissing Faust's tantrum as beneath her. He wasn't even value a slap in her gaze. Nearby, a fellow in sunglasses scoffed. Faust's dangers were empty, and everybody recognized it. He leaned closer, confronting Faust's words with sarcasm, while others observed silently. From the shadows, a cloaked person arrived. His presence shocked Faust. This wasn't somebody to take lightly. Gerarch Falnez, heir of the Adventurer Guild Alliance, had reached. His expression was firm, signaling that everything from here on would be taken gravely. Falnez confronted Faust directly. Bribery and manipulation would not go unpunished, and formal investigation was now inevitable. With piercing gaze, he announced decision. Faust, shaking, was informed to ready for the consequences of his actions. Report of the scandal growth swift. Faust's name was listed between several corrupt officials facing weighty sanctions. Meanwhile, the Exiles Guild's reputation soared. Their achievements outshined even their former fights, earning respect from across the adventurer realm. Entrusting him to spread word of the guild's renown, a fresh era had plainly begun. Eisen smiled calmly. After the recent events, he was summoned to talk with a key person about coming negotiations. At a cafe on the main street, a lady enjoyed a silent drink. She reflected on Aizen's rise, noting how rare it was for a guild chief of his status to meet directly with somebody new. Two other ladies entered the discussion, praising Aizen's achievements. They recounted his recent fights and recognized how much he had progressed through his consistent effort. One youngster keenly shared her pancakes with the others, offering them bites as she grinned and relaxed. They traded reactions to the food, laughing together. The red-haired lady calmly watched their energy, noting the likely arrival time of their next destination. At the guild headquarters, Eisen stood before a towering building. On entering the building, a staff member greeted Eisen and offered to escort him to the office of the Guild Federation chief. A week had passed since Eisen's duel with Faust. Despite interference from a demon, the fact of that strife had started to surface through widespread reports. As they moved down the corridor, updates regarding Faust's misconduct and corruption had reached the Federation's attention, bringing a stir across the whole organization. Beyond the executive's door, Eisen waited as the staff companion announced his visit. The door opened to reveal a fellow with long hair and an assured expression. Eisen's gaze widened in recognition as the fellow identified himself. It was the same elder he had met before. Now, he stood as the Guild Federation chief, Gerarch Falnez. Extending a warm greeting, Gerarch shook Eisen's palm firmly, welcoming him with visible respect for his place as chief of the Outcast Guild. Though nervous, Eisen replied politely, attempting to remain composed under the official atmosphere. Gerarch's grin remained unchanged as he encouraged Eisen to talk openly, as he had in their previous encounter, praising Eisen's former accomplishments, including major captures and victories. Gerarch recognized his contributions as extraordinary and deserving of renown. The Federation officially recognized Eisen's efforts. His actions during the Faust incident aided expose broad corruption inside the organization. Gerarch admired Eisen's guidance, emphasizing how his guild united individuals through earned faith and talent without the need for apology or explanation. As a token of thanks, Gerarch presented a locket, showing it was tied to a long-standing wish he once entrusted to outcome fulfilled by Eisen. Eisen remembered finding the locket during a former dungeon expedition. At the while, it had been a basic retrieval quest from an unseen requester. Now realizing its origin, Eisen was shocked. Gerarch confirmed the locket was his, even mentioning his name was engraved within something Eisen had ignored. Though the memory was vague, he never pictured that man would make out to be the Federation's chief. He jokingly remarked that the stress of the visit might shorten his life, to which Gerarch reacted with a steady insistence that Eisen had a duty to stand long as a symbol of faith. Gerarch clarified that Eisen possessed a rare gift, the talent to perceive hidden potential in others, a talent known only to a few inside the inner circle. Acknowledging this, Eisen described the might he calls appraisal eye, which allows him to spot concealed talents and personal traits that most overlook. With a thoughtful look, Jirark reflected on former guild chiefs. Jirark suggested offering Aizen direction. Moved by the sincerity of his remarks, Aizen reacted with gratitude, finally understanding why this man stood as the Federation's chief. Both men chuckled, the mood lightening. Jirark remarked that nothing could be concealed from an aged man, particularly one who had seen so much. Aizen started recounting his youth. At 6 years aged, his village faced a creature menace that local efforts failed to resolve, causing casualties among the villagers. During that crisis, a returning team of explorers reached unexpectedly. The explorer taught him a lasting lesson that gift solo isn't enough. Aizen reflected on former teachings. Now completely understanding their meaning, he vowed to guard his comrades and backing them wholeheartedly as a guild chief. Curious, Jirark inquired the adventurer's name. Aizen confessed he never mastered it, having missed the opportunity to ask in his youth. The team who defeated the creature had not survived. None returned, departing only their legacy behind. Their sacrifice left scars and thoughts. Since that day, Aizen gripped nameless heroes in the highest regard. Now as guild chief, Aizen carried on their will. Jirark recognized his root with understanding and respect. Referenced the incident with Faust, noting that Aizen never rejected the value of figures but emphasized how one used their talents mattered more. He reflected on Faust's downfall, acknowledging that if Faust had really wanted to aid the outcasted, Jirark would have supported him without hesitation. Aizen considered of his allies, recognizing that some goals couldn't be achieved solo. Only with shared beliefs could genuine improve be accomplished. Jirark sensed hesitation in Aizen's gaze and encouraged him to talk openly. Guessing he carried private conflict, with a nervous grin, Aizen confessed his concerns, finally opening up to somebody who truly listened. Though the matter troubled him badly, Aizen decided to confide in Jirark about Colette, unsure how to proceed in leading her. He clarified that somebody without any hidden talent had appeared, leaving him uncertain about how to lead such a person effectively. Aizen expressed his disbelief. He had always assumed everybody possessed concealed talents. Still, Colette was an exception. Thou resolved, Aizen confessed he lacked the replies. Despite his place, he struggled to understand what Colette really required. Jirark recalled him that the most crucial thing isn't visible talent, but personal will, the resolve that drives somebody forward. Discussion moved towards the mystery of hidden talents. Despite Aizen's research, documented knowledge on the subject remains scarce and speculative. Questions arose: are concealed talents innate, or could they be acquired afterward? The possibility of evolving gifts opposed existing views. The secretary, grinning, knowingly disclosed she had invited somebody with deep insight into the topic to join their discussion. During swirling petals, a dramatic person arrived. Assurance radiated from her presence as she addressed Aizen directly. She unveiled self as Melas Elsika, a renowned guild leader and one of the 4 great emperors. Melas twirled with excitement, surrounding them both in petals as Aizen observed cautiously. Stepping closer, she examined him curiously, intrigued by the odd merit of his gaze and presence. Her expression pivoted, fierce gaze glinting with interest. Though playful, her aims remained unclear as the mood grew heavier. Aizen stood frozen as a strong presence appeared before him, an elegant lady in elaborate robes. With an assured grin, she greeted him kindly. Her tone was playful, but her look keen. Aizen detected her power masked behind grace. Her visit was not a coincidence. Everything from her posture to her timing sense calculated, like a ruler descending from her throne. She admired his triumph over a formidable foe, her delight nearly theatrical. Her hopes for him were plainly top. As they gathered at the table, she expressed her boredom with long life and her craving for excitement. Aizen jerked as the woman's look pierced through him. Her gaze gripped a depth that unsettled him. With a sly posture and assured poise, she stood quietly as others murmured about her age and influence. Despite her youthful arrival, her status commanded respect. Without hesitation, she handed Aizen a card before gracefully suggesting they end the meeting there. He gazed at the odd characters. As she vanished in a swirl of magic, her voice remained with a promise to meet anew in personal next time. Shocked, Aizen remained frozen. The others struggled to hide their awe at her overwhelming presence. The elder admired Aizen's rare gift to perceive hidden talents, noting how Marais's permission made him the ideal candidate for the task. Wearing a light grin, Aizen recognized his fresh mission, his determination to help Colette displayed in his assured reply. Years later, on the bustling roads, townsfolk gathered nearby him. Their cheers echoed admiration for his recent triumph. Though marked, Aizen located the constant attention draining. Even resting in open became hard without interruption. Noticing his weariness, Micah casually comforted him. Her tone was relaxed, hinting that glory was something he would ultimately adapt to. While licking his ice cream, Aizen remembered Micah's remarks and abruptly connected a detail about her background. She was a noble's daughter. He paused, contemplating her perspective. Perhaps Micah was right, adjusting to glory might not be as hard as it appeared. As he listened to voices nearby city, Aizen realized that the realm was beginning to change. A coming for the outcasts finally appeared feasible. Still, not everything was decided. Colette stood away to the side, distracted, her ice cream melting unnoticed in her palm. Her subdued demeanor since the final combat hadn't gone unnoticed. Typically energetic, her silence now lifted silent concern in Aizen's heart. After observing Colette's conduct, Aizen decided to talk with her directly. Encouraged by advice, he sent the others forward. He neared with casual remarks, wondering if she'd accompany him. Colette, amazed but curious, agreed without hesitation. Moving together through the market, Aizen inquired about her reasons for turning an adventurer. She replied brightly, remembering her youth dreams despite achieving her goal. Colette confessed she still respected explorers, the ideal never faded. As her expression pivoted serious, she deduced why he shouted her aside. The instant between them grew weighty with unspoken thoughts. Without warning, Colette bowed badly. She expressed heartfelt thanks to Aizen, offering never to overlook his kindness. Aizen stood stunned. Her abrupt declaration puzzled him, especially as she challenged whether she even possessed a hidden skill. Reflecting on former fights, Colette confessed her doubts. Battling alongside powerful partners made her feel painfully inadequate. Aizen recalled her previously remarks. Perhaps she had seen the fact all along but decided not to reveal it. Even as she thanked him for welcoming her into the guild, she clarified her decision to depart before turning a burden. With a brave grin, Colette announced her intent to continue adventuring solo, relying on sheer grit and determination. Aizen, however, remembered a former conversation, a companion who gave up dreams to follow duty. The remembrance hit a painful chord, based by instinct. He seized Colette by the shoulders, his emotions finally escaping through restraint. His voice trembled as he tried to talk, and Colette gazed at him, startled by his abrupt intensity. Apologizing, Aizen confessed his defeat to backing her. With conviction, he yelled that Colette was irreplaceable and pleaded her to faith him once more. Aizen made a strong vow he promised never to abandon Colette and announced he would uphold his duty as guild chief. Moved by his remarks, Colette gazed up, her expression softening with shock and emotion, though she lacked a visible hidden talent. Aizen recognized something more, an individuality that couldn't be measured by benchmark abilities. Remembering others once misunderstood like her, Aizen realized the problem wasn't might, but recognition. Colette's promise just required the right backing. Before he could say more, a team of rough-gazing men neared. Their smug tone marked the beginning of fresh trouble. A team of hostile explorers confronted Aizen, mocking the guild's reputation and accusing them of being frauds. Colette moved ahead, angered by their insults, set to retaliate. Aizen, however, attempted to de-escalate despite the provocation. Just as tensions emerged, Aizen rapidly moved in front of Colette, shielding her from the position. A violent clash erupted. With a single blow, Aizen sent one of the agitators flying, shocking the onlookers into quiet. From the shadows, a known opinion broke through the chaos. A new person arrived, somebody Aizen hadn't seen in a long time. A wild-looking man with sharp teeth and manic chuckles broke onto the scene, declaring he had stemmed just to find Aizen. This was Sarvio, a notorious past chief who once dismantled his own squad and cast out comrades, including one of Aizen's allies. Aizen declined to back down. Sarvio's smile widened as he mocked the notion of revenge, claiming he had no such intent. With a casual gesture, Sarvio shattered the ground beneath him, then claimed he simply wished to speak. Both men locked gaze, strain crackling in the air. The conversation was about to start, but no one recognized where it would charge. Sarvio abruptly shouted out Aizen's name, his fierce expression shifting to something unexpected. Without warning, Sarvio dropped to his knees and bowed badly, begging to become Aizen's disciple. Everybody stood in shocked quiet. The absurdity of the appeal left Aizen speechless, unsure whether to take the appeal gravely. Dropping to one knee, the armored man implored Aizen to take him as an apprentice, his opinion echoing through the guild house. Meanwhile, just beyond, a startled girl froze mid-move, plainly disturbed by what she had overheard. Within, strain shifted as the man pivoted to a companion, offering a heartfelt apology and admitting his previous mistakes. With dropped hair and unwavering resolve, he pleaded for the chance to learn under Aizen, fully aware of his former disgrace. Haunted by thoughts, he recalled the friends he had lost and disclosed he once thought of abandoning his route as an adventurer. Sobs welled in his gaze as the fighter clenched his teeth, refusing to accept that things should end in failure. With renewed determination, he pivoted to Aizen and announced his wish to aid fight discrimination against the exiled, catching everyone off guard. Lowering his hair, he confessed to once following the wave of scorning the outcasts, ashamed of his past ignorance. Based by guilt over lost allies, he proclaimed it his duty as an S-rank adventurer to make amends through action moved by his resolve. The girl grinned softly while Aizen reconsidered his initial choice to reject him. Though Aizen challenged why he was chosen, the fighter demanded that only the one who opened his gaze to the truth could guide him. Aizen warned him that Viren might never accept him, but the fighter announced he was prepared to do anything to earn that faith. He was recalled of his past arrogance, once fixated with figures and superiority, but was asked if he could truly change. With intense determination, he swore never to repeat his mistakes, willing to embrace the bravery needed for real growth. Despite hesitation, Aizen confessed the sincerity of the remarks had truly reached his heart. A fox-eared girl lifted concerns about the fighter not being a real exile, but Aizen dismissed the detail as unimportant. She indicated out that if Aizen had really doubted him, he wouldn't have brought him this far, implying he saw promise. Convinced by that reasoning, Viren wiped her sobs and decided to faith Aizen's decision despite her hesitations. Still, thoughts of former mistreatment remained. Viren had suffered badly under the warrior's past command, forcing forgiveness difficult. Thou willing to give Sarvio an opportunity, Aizen expressed regret, knowing Viren's pain couldn't be ignored so readily. Aizen placed his palm on Viren's shoulder, reassuring her that her rage towards Sarvio wasn't wrong and that her feelings deserved respect. He pivoted to Sarvio and began to step aside, expressing regret but unable to ignore Viren's pain. Before he could depart, Viren sobbed out, urging him to halt and listen. She struggled to talk but clarified she grasped his intentions, and that offering Sarvio a chance wasn't out of favoritism. Sobs streaming down her face, Viren announced that folks could always change just as she had. Thanks to Aizen's guidance, Severin gazed at Sarvio with softened gaze, realizing they shared the same desire to improve and be better. With a strong opinion, she agreed to accept him into the guild, though she made it plain it came with conditions. Her demand was basic yet brave: regular outings solo with Aizen as a personal promise. Proudly, she announced that tending to Aizen's emotional well-being was her formal duty as a center member of the guild. Blushing and insistent, she forced an embarrassed agreement, surprising everybody with her determination to make the promise formal loan of the guild members. Challenged why Viren demanded on spending while alone with Aizen, hinting at past girl-only gatherings. Meanwhile, Sarvio was told to appreciate Viren's mercy, as others started to gradually take him. Still, the fox-eared girl cautioned him sternly if he possibly betrayed that kindness, she would display no hesitation in destroying him. Sarvio, shaken but genuine, yelled that he would never repeat his past mistakes, vowing to earn their faith. Later, Viren pivoted to Colette with a mysterious grin, hinting that what she was about to say would be quite the shock. Aizen approached Sarvio with a serious appear and entrusted him with the training of a fresh companion, Colette. He clarified that Colette, despite her surprise, needed somebody like Sarvio to guide her route. Though reluctant, Sarvio listened as Aizen emphasized her spirit and promise, asking him to train her as a sound adventurer. Eventually, Aizen announced that the Guild of the Exiled would welcome Sarvio as one of their own. Reflecting on his own journey, Sarvio embraced the responsibility with newfound resolve, set to mentor somebody as he once needed himself. Sarvio yelled Colette's name with exaggerated flair, declaring he would directly oversee her training as her superior. He demanded to be shouted "Big Brother," to which Colette obediently reacted. Despite her uncertainty, training began immediately with fierce physical drills, sit-ups, drive-ups, and squats, all yelled in relentless cadence. Though struggling, Colette endured, prompting Sarvio to cheerfully join her, vowing not to let her suffer solo, laughing wildly. He recalled everybody that he was an S-rank adventurer full of honor, strength, and newfound camaraderie. Colette clutched her weapon with determination, set to strike Sarvio seriously during their sparring match. Confidently, Sarvio opposed her to stem at him with all her strength, claiming he'd only use his left palm to defend. Their weapons clashed strongly, but Colette accidentally hit him harder than expected. Instantly apologizing in shock, bleeding from the nose, Sarvio chuckled away the injury, declaring an S-rank must endure pain with honor. Though others found his bravado questionable, without pause, he ordered a rushing drill, encouraging Colette to push her bounds alongside him to build real stamina. Sarvio intensified the training, yelling that they would now run 5 times more and even provided to carry Colette if she collapsed. Observing from afar, Micah expressed worry, but Aizen assured her that Colette would talk up if things became unreasonable. Despite his steady demeanor, Aizen suspected Sarvio might be the one ending up exhausted, If things continued at this pace, still, Sarvio held pushing ahead, matching Colette stride for stride, his dedication confirming the sincerity of his improve. Eisen then informed the team he'd remain behind a few more years to observe, hinting at coming plans forming in his mind. Severin and Micah stood proudly, vowing to take charge of the Exiles Guild in Eisen's lack. With faith in his allies, Eisen departed on a mission to reveal the fact behind a hidden skill and a mysterious invitation. He soon reached at a large town, home to the powerful guild Arianhad, ready for what lay ahead. Twin maids stood poised in a lavish room, gesturing towards a plush sofa where a black cat rested. Magic shimmered in the air as Eisen observed the feline vanish into particles of light. Its departure left no trace, only quiet questions lingering in his mind. During a cascade of dropping emerged petals, a flamboyant witch reclined confidently on an ornate couch distant from the town. The towering Arianhad Guild emerged like a forgotten relic. Seen for sheltering outcasts, it housed strong mages hidden from open view, and she was among them. With elegance, the witch raised her teacup, eventually showing her name, Mellors Elishika, the Witch of Grace. Seated in the ornate lounge, Eisen reflected on a fact he'd hidden since childhood: the talent to spot concealed skills. Across from him, the witch listened with keen interest. She disclosed her aim, uncovering the mystery behind hidden talents using Eisen's unique forces as a lead. Comparing the phenomenon to magic, she clarified how handling it varied. Some excelled normally, while others improved through effort and learning. She remembered an aged theory and posed a question to Eisen, prompting him to reflect on advice, progress, and personal training. At final, she disclosed a groundbreaking notion. These improvements weren't random. They were tracked, rated, and seen by another named practice points. Inside the adventurer realm, finding strength was often simplified as leveling up. A conceptual diagram disclosed the transformation of practice into numeric stats, emphasizing that raw potential influenced how efficiently one could grow. Eisen started to grasp the implications. Those with top stats had merely learned to convert experience into might more effectively, unlike many who failed to do so. Mellors suggested a new angle. Perhaps Eisen and his allies channeled experience directly into hidden talents, surpassing even S-rank bounds. She challenged whether hidden talents were predetermined or shaped over while. Eisen's gaze widened as he realized the theory may previously exist inside himself. Mellors talked of individuals who defy their birth gifts, choosing distinct paths and blooming through their own resolve. By channeling more practice into his hidden talent, it could potentially transform or even evolve into something mightier and more fitting to him. Her remarks hit a chord. She grinned, naming this talent to change the essence of being human. The notion made shape. The more experience a talent required, the more powerful its potential. Eisen's mind raced, realizing this theory could improve everything. As Mellors clarified, even talents that seem latent may emerge unexpectedly. The boy once rejected as frail might merely be still asleep. Eisen reflected steadily, recognizing that status values represented both talent and individual character. His assurance had grown. Mellors and another girl clarified further: numeric figures were inseparable from one's nature. Clenching his fist, Eisen stood with newfound conviction. He readied to portion this knowledge with Colette, but an abrupt voice stopped him. Without warning, Mellors launched self onto Eisen, bringing a chaotic tumble. Her abrupt movement left him shocked and speechless. Pinned down, Eisen listened as Mellors recalled him of his real place, not just as a guild leader, but as someone entrusted with insight and precision. Excitement surged in Mellors as she viewed a possibility: Eisen's appraisal talent might shortly evolve. Beyond the guild, training had concluded for the day. Exhausted voices echoed through the yard as companions taken their breath, used but satisfied. A girl called Zyrene neared with steady poise. She recognized the fatigue of her companions, her expression gentle, still composed despite being a teacher. She quietly pondered how things had reached such chaos. Training had plainly gone overboard once anew. As Zyrene watched the boisterous fighter, she recalled him not to harass Colette. He retorted bravely, claiming he respected Colette's resilience too much to ignore it. Sarvio blurted out his peculiar romantic preference and admiration for beautiful witches over 50, delivered with untamed energy and zero shame. He elaborated more, describing an ideal lady as mature, powerful-willed, and mysteriously charming. The others gazed on, taken between shock and discomfort. Zyrene, embarrassed, still curious, located herself unexpectedly affected by his words. A reluctant grin betrayed her conflicted thoughts. She ultimately confronted Sarvio directly, remembering his transformation since the years of the Silver Wolf Guild. Her opinion carried both faith and uncertainty. Sobs flowed down her face as she admitted, It wasn't Sarvio she couldn't forgive, it was her own feelings towards him. Sarvio pivoted his back, speaking silently. He claimed complete responsibility for the destruction he once caused, carrying the impact without hesitation. Viren listened in shock as Sarvio admitted to ruthlessly abusing a comrade and leading a whole squad to ruin. He talked of his aged self with disgust each night. The faces of the lost returned in dreams. They criticized him, whispering blame with hollow voices. Their haunting remarks repeated endlessly accusations and regrets tearing at his sanity. Even in sleep, Sarvio could not escape decision. He feared that one day, those voices would drag him to hell, and he trusted he completely earned it. Sarvio remembered the instant he saw Colette being dismissed and mocked in public. The remembrance hit a nerve he didn't expect. Realizing that the bullies recalled him of his past self, he lashed out without considering. It was pure instinct. Despite spiraling into shame and drowning in self-pity, he resisted the notion that he was doomed forever. He clenched his fists with renewed aim. If he still gripped the status of an S-class explorer, then he had responsibilities to uphold. Even now, Sarvio respected explorers, but somebody like him he trusted didn't deserve redemption, not compared to somebody like Colette. Sarvio decided to train Colette and backing Aizen in ending the cycle of dismissals. Once that was done, he would take his fall into damnation as his settled duty. He pivoted to Severin with serious remarks, apologizing for his past actions. However, he inquired not for forgiveness, but for her to recall his sins. Her quiet was met with his explanation that her rejection to forgive would fuel his conviction. Sobs shimmered in her gaze, but she nodded. Silently, she embraced his route without resistance. Years later, in the snowy peaks of a distant mountain, another fellow stood before remains, pondering the possibility of restoring lost honor. Aegis followed the witch and the knight into the unseen. Their destination was concealed, their aim tied to forgotten remains. Inside a cavern of bright crystals, Clay listens as his companion questions his practice with dragons. The sorceress, standing alongside a towering knight, reflects on dragons as beings once hailed as sky sovereigns and creature kings. A colossal dragon unleashes its breath. Old texts define them as divine disasters, immortal scourges sent by gods. Flashes of a former strife resurface where the chaotic combat led to the fall of a lesser demon. Despite the moment's intensity, a vital chance to blow down a Kudra slipped through their grasp. The team arrives at a long-concealed chamber filled in light pivoting back. The sorceress offers reassurance to Clay. A dazzling crystal shrine towers in the heart of the sacred room. The squad approaches in quiet, drawn by the impact of purpose. Clay stares in awe, confused that such a temple could exist and hidden. Alongside him, the witch steadily points to the largest crystal, thou reluctant. He meets her look. With a faint nod, she inquires for his faith. A single strong slash cleaves through the crystal. Energy erupts in a blinding broke as the structure fractures violently. Observing the destruction unfold, the witch smiles with satisfaction. In her gaze, Clay's act has proven he possesses the conviction required, one fit even for slaying dragons. Abrupt tremors ripple through the ground, throwing the team into alert. Clay swiftly calls for a defensive stance as the cavern begins to quake violently nearby them. The witch steadily recounts a dark legend: those who once failed to slay the immortal ancient dragon instead sealed it aside beneath the earth, achieving triumph through containment buried far underneath. The dragon's flesh remained living, festering with hatred. With explosive make, a monstrous shape bursts from under the crystal remains. A grotesque dragon corpse rises, skeletal and immense, its body animated by lingering malice. Its might distorts the atmosphere, driving the team to brace against the wave of force. Hovering overhead, the skeletal monster glares down without hesitation. It dives, aiming straight towards the squad. Clay watches in horror, hardly managing to call out to Hilda. Panic overtakes him. He turns furiously to the witch, accusing her of unleashing a creature on the realm. In response, she smiles coldly, letting the beast wreak havoc. She argues would create the perfect setting for a hero to rise during despair. Her eyes narrow. She claims Clay could become that hero if only he embraced the place she designed. Temptation fills the air as the witch questions Clay's wish for fame. A sly grin curves on her lips. To her, the means are meaningless as long as the end grants triumph. Any route is justified. Clay hesitates, clutched by dread. Slaying an immortal abomination feels unworkable. Uncertainty weighs weighty on him. With soothing remarks and a soft embrace, she calms him. Her assurance leaves no space for hesitation. Meanwhile, a dim-haired fellow called Aizen rises with resolve. As speak of the expelled guild spreads, he prepares to help and show their strength anew. A strong explosion rocks the guild's vicinity as chaos erupts beyond. The witch's opinion echoes with satisfaction. She claims to excel at creating strife. In the pouring rain, an intense knight taunts his opponent, assured and smiling. He boasts that no one can best him in direct battle. The air battle intensifies. The junior fighter strikes with all her power, but her opponent only demands more effort, urging her to show real grit. An instant afterward, she slips and crashes into the muddy ground. Her momentum falters, soaked and breathless. Sobs stream down her cheeks. Uncertainty and frustration overwhelm her. She inquires why she can't win, while the knight looks on in shocked quiet. Colette kneels in the rain, overwhelmed by frustration. Despite her brother's constant backing and training, she still feels unbearably frail. She compares herself to other explorers and believes they would have grown faster. The notion that she's still unworthy gnaws at her heart. Doubt consumes her. Lacking gift, she wonders if effort and willpower solo will never be sufficient. Kneeling alongside her, he commands her to abandon that delusion. Gift isn't everything he once trusted it was, but it led only to ruin. He shows his defeat, admitting his arrogance caused the deaths of his allies. Firm yet sincere, he urges Colette to understand what really matters. The knight talks with conviction, declaring that figures and rank mean slight compared to the will to keep moving. Even when broken sobs stream down her cheeks, her wish to be an adventurer burns mightier than ever, intense enough to overcome any weakness. Continued by his remarks, she cries his name. He reminds her she's improved. She even forced him to battle with both palms. With a smirk, he scolds her softly for comparing self to others. Fatigue and frustration had clouded her vision. Rejuvenated, Colette shouts her appeal. Gaze complete of determination, she begs to continue the training, unwilling to halt now. With renewed energy, the knight bellows his question and prepares to cheeks Colette once more. But something changes. An intense aura radiates from Colette, her presence transformed. The knight hesitates, sensing peril. Her strike surges ahead with blinding intensity. In an immediate, the knight is knocked flat into the wet ground. He stares up in shock, uncertain of what just hit him. Both are stunned. Colette, panting heavily, is puzzled by her abrupt surge of power. The knight presses her, asking to understand what she just did. Before replies stem, a girl called Kagari arrives in haste, urgently asking for Aizen's whereabouts. Something serious has begun meanwhile. At the Arianhad Adventurer Guild, Aizen slumps from exhaustion. His body spent, he listens to a researcher cheerfully credit the data collected from his efforts, used repeatedly for tests. Aizen is viewed more like a test subject than an individual. Despite this, he continues assisting the guild's needs. While surrounded by guild companions, Aizen prepares to clarify valuable practice metrics to Colette. However, an abrupt, urgent alert interrupts. One of the ladies urgently calls for his attention, her opinion keen. She warns that what he's about to hear is critical. Shock takes over. Aizen learns an enormous skeletal creature is heading straight toward the town of Daytona. Disaster is imminent. Shock growth across Aizen's cheeks as he caught the report. The girl's pressing expression disclosed something terrifying unfolding in Daytona. Without warning, a towering skeletal monster surged through the snowstorm. Its jagged armor and glowing gaze marked it as a make of destruction. Far in the distance, a team of top explorers stood defiantly. Strain filled the air as the creature closed in behind them, bursting into the space. A red-haired fighter announced the return of the Exiles Guild. Her partners stood behind her, each one set for combat. In the war room, the blonde girl moved ahead. Representing Aizen's team, she promised their strength as the next combat began to unfold. Research disclosed a terrifying fact: an undead dragon composed of enormous bones was advancing toward Daytona. Experts speculated that an old dragon had been resurrected. Its skeletal form and unnatural movement hinted at necromantic forces beyond comprehension. In the command center, panic growth as the scale of the menace became plain. Despite an early response, the disaster case scenario could not be controlled out. With urgency, a veteran chief presented two choices: abandon the town or stay and defend it. The choice had to be made rapidly. Conflicting views erupted. Some pressed retreat until reinforcements reached, while others feared Daytona would be lost before aid came, closed his gaze in far strife. Choosing to battle could charge to weighty casualties, but retreat might bring regret. Facing the war table, the blonde girl recalled everybody that Daytona was their shared haven. Its loss would be individual to many. Her remarks stirred emotion between the team. Defending a spot where folks stand and belong, she argued, was their duty as adventurers. Resolve and trusted he wouldn't step aside. Encouraged, the youngster located renewed determination in her stance. Support quickly spread. One by one, guild members promised to battle not for fame but to protect what they loved without regret. A sly smile growth across the warrior's cheeks. His silence burst with an unsettling assurance, unnerving those nearby him. With arms outstretched, he yelled across the house. The Exiles Guild, he announced, would take the battle to the foe without hesitation. Boasting loudly, he rejected any who lacked conviction. He promised payments for those who stood strong and scorn for any who fled. Another guild member moved forward, proudly confirming their devotion to Daytona. For them, the town had become a new haven value, protecting, motivated by their teamwork. The Thor Hammer Guild entered the cause, spirits raised, and the once divided warriors now stood set as one. Chuckles filled the guild house as the confident fighter taunted his peers. Cheers erupted, swords were lifted, and spirits ignited. The guilds ready to charge, keen to prove their strength and earn triumph through action. Beyond the town, a vast army assembled. Wolk and his officers watched the battlefield, where over 2,000 explorers made their positions. From the sky descended a terrifying dragon. Its heat could melt shields, and its wings carried destruction, an apex menace to all who faced it. Facing this old monster, Wolk recognized the odds. Even 10,000 fighters might not be enough, and Aizen's distinct practice could be the path. A lady yelled with raw emotion, forbidding anyone from mentioning the fallen fighter named Clay. Her grief burned through the air. The enemy's taunt was keen. He ridiculed the Exiles Guild, labeling them as pitiful losers who dropped behind in the combat. Wolk grinned as the instant reached. The foe forces had drawn close, and his soldiers lifted their weapons in anticipation. Across the mountain skies, a shadow appeared. The old dragon disclosed itself at final wings wide, its form eclipsing the setting sun. As troops rushed to respond, the mages prepared their spells. Wolk rallied the army, commanding a blow to bring the monster down. The charge started with a thunderous cry under the banner of Hecatoncheir. The army surged ahead, spears lifted towards the sky. Towering overhead them, the old dragon reacted with a deafening roar. Its skeletal body twisted mid-air, preparing to blow with brutal make. Blades clashed against its bones and fragments broke through the battlefield. The explorers battled strongly, scoring their first real hits. An enormous tail blow shattered the earth, launching fire and chaos across the front line. The monster's real might was now on show. Between the crowd, a lone person gazed upward. For him, the dragon wasn't just an foe, it was the embodiment of godlike terror far above the battlefield. A lone fighter gazed towards the dragon with intensity. He hadn't forgotten the monster, not even for an instant. Clenching his fists, he roared a question. Lion and dragon, he would decide whose might reign chief through strength solo. With a ferocious leap, he launched himself towards the creature. His fury exploded as he readied to settle the score in one final clash. Observing in awe, soldiers paused mid-combat. They could barely trust the raw might unfolding before their gaze. In a blazing impact, the fighter seen as the Lion King unleashed devastation. His blows hit like thunder, shaking the earth itself. With unmatched make, the Lion King delivered a devastating punch. The dragon reeled as fractures created across its enormous body. Standing tall, he roared in triumph, chuckles echoing as the monster crashed to the earth. Dust and shockwaves broke outward. The dragon's armor shattered under the blow. Shards scattered in every direction, a testament to the power behind the blow. Cheers erupted from the soldiers. Wolk's name filled the air as they trusted the combat had pivoted in their favor. But triumph was premature. Bleeding spilled from Wolk's chest as the dragon's tail pierced him, proof the creature still lived. The warriors briefly marked, thinking the dragon was defeated. Ease growth across their faces as its body stilled. Without warning, the beast rose anew, its gaze glowing strongly. Dread returned, and fear spread through the front lines. In the command space, dark news reached the main force had been destroyed, and the dragon was still advancing toward Daytona. Aizen stood before his allies. With no while left, he announced they would confront the old dragon themselves.